Chapter 4995. That's right. Bright Moon Householder was the Deputy Alliance Master of the Heavenly Alliance, and he had naturally considered this issue for a long time. When he heard this, he said with deep emotion, "Senior Shao, I've already seen the primordial spirit cultivation method. The modification of the cultivation method starts from the essence refinement stage to the void stage, and the modification of the essence refinement stage will affect the cultivation of the void stage. So, if one starts cultivating from the middle, it's hard to say how effective it will be. In fact, it can be said that Senior Zhao's primordial spirit cultivation method is a complete cultivation method, and it won't be of much help to cultivators like us who have already cultivated it." So, when we discovered the change in the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, our Tao Alliance started to prepare a backup plan. Old man Gu Qiong glanced at Bright Moon Householder and said, "After our discussion, we thought that looking for a stable space channel to go to another place was the most appropriate method." What did the Heavenly Alliance think about this? Bright Moon Householder nodded without hesitation and said, "Fellow Taoist Gu Qiong, the Heavenly Alliance also had the same idea. Moreover, our Heavenly Alliance has already dispatched disciples to look for traces of space channels in our territory. However, several hundred years have already passed, yet our Heavenly Alliance hasn't made any substantial progress. What about the Tao Alliance?" Old man Gu Qiong smiled bitterly and said, "If the Heavenly Alliance can't find a space channel, then our Tao Alliance won't be any better. Otherwise, I would have looked for Senior Shao anxiously because I knew that he broke through the boundary of the Yilan continent and didn't come close to the 10 Forbidden Lands." Xiao Hua asked curiously, "Fellow Taoist Gu Qiong, since you know that I lost all of my magic power when I broke through the boundary, it means that the space channel I passed through wasn't stable. So, why are you still pinning your hopes on me? Moreover, what does the space channel have to do with the 10 Forbidden Lands?" Old man Gu Qiong hurriedly smiled and said, "Senior, you don't know. The 10 Forbidden Lands are the 10 most dangerous places in the Yilan continent, and the Heavenly Wind Forbidden Land is one of them. There are fragments of the worldly laws of heaven and earth in the 10 Forbidden Lands, and they also have realm storms of different sizes. In other words, the 10 Forbidden Lands have 10 realm cracks that are adjacent to other realms. Senior, since you came from the boundary of the Yilan continent, we naturally wondered whether there was a stable realm channel. Alas, what a pity." Xiao Hua sighed. This old man didn't walk through a stable space passage. If this old man were to turn back and look for it now, I'm afraid that I won't be able to find the way back. Old man Gu Qiong and Bright Moon Householder were quite disappointed, and they asked in a low voice, "Senior, does this mean that there isn't any spatial channel in the vicinity of the Western Field Mountain Range?" Xiao Hua nodded, "Indeed, there isn't. This old man has no reason to deceive you. Also, to be honest, I didn't tell you in detail just now. This old man was able to travel from the 10,000 demon realm to the Yi-Lin continent purely by chance. It was the great sage Fire Phoenix King of the 10,000 demon realm who wanted to plot against this old man. That's why this old man was sent here. That ambush contained the power of heaven and earth. Even a great saint from the 10,000 demon realm could not resist it. Just you wait, just give up." Xiao Hua originally wanted to say that the Heavenly Wind Forbidden Area's power was similar to the 10,000 demon realms, but he didn't say anything more. He was afraid that if he gave them hope, they would go to the Forbidden Area to find a space passage. "Actually, Senior Shao." Bright Moon Householder hesitated for a moment before he said, "Apart from the Xian Alliance mentioned by Yang Xia, many seniors of the Yi-Lin continent have been to the 10,000 demon realm, the demon realm, and the Red Cloud realm. Moreover, I even mistakenly entered a world full of darkness 1,000 years ago." "Oh." Upon hearing this, Taoist Ji Yen raised his eyebrows and asked curiously, "Bright Moon, it turns out that you didn't cultivate in seclusion for 1,000 years, but went to another world? It's no wonder that your strength has increased by a lot." "Alas, don't mention it." Bright Moon Householder sighed when he mentioned that world full of darkness. "I was just practicing in the Mo Qing Forbidden Area that day." Old man Gu Qiong smiled and said, "Fellow Bright Moon, since you came to the Mo Qing Forbidden Area of the Tao Alliance, Why didn't you greet me? Humph. Bright Moon Householder curled his lips and said, if I had known that I would be sent to a place full of ghosts, where I couldn't cultivate, I would have surely greeted you. You don't know this, but even with this old man's cultivation level, when I reached that place, I was unable to discern my surroundings, much less see the scenery around me. Furthermore, the heaven and earth spiritual chi there was completely different from that of the Yilan continent. This old man had no way of cultivating. Therefore, I didn't dare to leave the place where I crossed the world, and I waited for several hundred years before I returned to the Yilan continent. When I went there, I consumed more than half of my magic power because I crossed the world, and my strength wasn't even comparable to that of a god refinement realm expert. When I returned to the Yilan continent, I didn't have enough magic power, and I couldn't even beg for death because of the worldly storm. So, when I returned to the Yilan continent with great difficulty, I only had half of my life left. Therefore, I could only cultivate in seclusion, and it took me several dozen years to recover. Xiaohua suddenly asked, fellow Taoist, in your opinion, is the worldly spiritual chi of the Yilan continent similar to the worldly spiritual chi of the Yilan continent after its mutation? Although it's somewhat similar. Bright Moon Householder shook his head and replied without hesitation, but, if I carefully examine it, I feel that it's completely different. Of course, I can't be completely sure about this, as my strength is limited. Well, fellow Taoist Bright Moon, the world you went to should be the dark spirit world. Xiaohua nodded and told him about the dark spirit world that he had heard in the 10,000 demon realm. Then, he said, previously, I suspected that the worldly spiritual chi of the dark spirit world might have leaked into the Yilan continent, which might have caused the mutation of the worldly spiritual chi of the dark spirit world. But, after hearing fellow Taoist Bright Moon's words, I realized that I might have made a mistake. So, what are the other 8 forbidden areas? And, which ones are they related to? Which seniors have been there? Senior Xiao, please take a look. Old man Gu Qiong was already prepared, and he took out a jade slip and handed it over to Xiaohua, saying, this is the location of the 10 forbidden areas of the Yilan continent, as well as the records of some seniors of the Tao Alliance who crossed the world. Similarly, some records of the Tao Alliance's exploration of the space channel over the years are also in it. Xiaohua took the jade slip and used his divine sense to check it. Old man Gu Qiong continued to explain, the Yilan continent has a total of 10 forbidden areas. The Tao Alliance has 4, which are the Profound Gong Forbidden Area, the Flood Tao Forbidden Area, the Fu Lin Forbidden Area, and the Enchanting Forbidden Area. The Heaven Alliance has 6, which are the Heaven Wind Forbidden Area, the Sky Splitting Forbidden Area, the Sky Dome Forbidden Area, the Captive Imprisonment Forbidden Area, the Soul Tearing Forbidden Area, and the Soul Shattering Forbidden Area. Except for the Enchanting Forbidden Area, which we didn't know before, leads to the Dark Spirit World, and the Soul Shattering Forbidden Area, which is somewhat related to the Red Cloud World, the other 8 forbidden areas, including the Heaven Wind Forbidden Area, are more or less related to the 10,000 demon world. Of course, it's not because of the cracks in the 8 forbidden areas. My Tao Sect seniors have been to all of them. It's because the fragments of the world laws in these forbidden areas are very similar. Old man Gu Qiong stopped speaking and looked at Bright Moon Householder. Bright Moon Householder understood what old man Gu Qiong meant. Then, he took out a jade slip and handed it over to Xiaohua respectfully. This is the result of our Heavenly Alliance's research over the years. According to the current records of my Heaven Alliance, a total of 13 seniors of the Heaven Alliance have been to the 10,000 demon world. 8 of them returned safely, and the fate of the other 5 is unknown. 15 seniors of the Tao Alliance have been to the 10,000 demon world, and 3 seniors went to the Red Cloud world. Only 7 of them returned, and the fate of the other seniors is unknown. Among them, the senior who returned from the Red Cloud world was called Xiuzhu. After he returned, he left some records, but he disappeared inexplicably. No one knows what happened. The information about the Xian Alliance was obtained by a senior of the Heaven Alliance called Master Lu Guan. As for the demon world, because the passage is not fixed and there are many seniors who went to the demon world, our Heaven Alliance didn't have any special records. Of course, these seniors who crossed over. Bright Moon Householder talked about some information about the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance's crossing over. The strength of these seniors of the Tao Alliance who could cross over was no small matter. However, their situation was similar to Xiao Hua's. Every time they crossed over, their strength would be depleted. In the best case, their cultivation would be greatly reduced, while in the worst case, they would lose all their magic power. Of course, there were many places on the Yi-Lin continent that could lead to other worlds. However, the spatial cracks of the 10 Forbidden Lands were the most obvious. Therefore, most of the seniors of the Tao Alliance who went to other worlds chose the spatial cracks of the 10 Forbidden Lands. After Bright Moon Householder finished talking, Old Man Gu Qiong said, speaking of the spatial cracks of the 10 Forbidden Lands, this old man would like to add something. According to the records of my Tao Alliance, the spatial storms of the 3 Forbidden Lands, which are related to the 10,000 demon world, are not constantly strong. Instead, they calm down every once in a while. Previously, many seniors of the Tao Alliance went there when the spatial storms were calm. Xiao Hua's heart skipped a beat, and he asked, what about when this old man crossed over? It's when the spatial storms just started to get stronger. Old Man Gu Qiong replied with certainty. Xiao Hua nodded inwardly. He already understood that 9 of the 10 Forbidden Lands on the Yi-Lin continent were related to the 10,000 demon world's power. In fact, when the Xian Alliance went to the 10,000 demon world, they also went there when the spatial storms were calm. Bright Moon Householder added. Xiao Hua withdrew his divine sense from the jade slip and said with a bitter smile, so, at this time, neither the Heavenly Alliance nor the Tao Alliance has found a stable spatial channel. Yes. Old Man Gu Qiong and Bright Moon Householder said in unison, that's why we want to implore Senior Xiao, don't mention this matter. Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, if this old man knew, he would definitely tell you. Okay. Old Man Gu Qiong and Bright Moon Householder were helpless. Moreover, Xiao Hua suddenly remembered something, and he hurriedly reminded them, don't go to the 10,000 demon world for a while. This old man killed 2 great sages of the 10,000 demon world, and they couldn't do anything to me. Now that this old man has left, they will definitely tighten their vigilance. If you go there and are discovered by them, I'm afraid that your lives will be in danger. P.S. Fellow cultivators who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and give it a tip. Chapter 4996. The group of cultivators did not take Xiao Hua's warning seriously, but when they heard that Xiao Hua killed 2 great saints of the demon clan, they were all shocked. Sigh. Xiao Hua realized that he did not show off this episode just now. Now that he suddenly said it, it was a slip of the tongue again. Fortunately, under Xiao Hua's care, he concealed the fact that he had killed the Snow Wolf King. Senior. Fairy Mo Yun and the Earth Spirit Goddess knew that it was time for them to appear, and hurriedly called out, Senior, quickly tell us, how did you kill 2 great saints of the demon clan? We heard that the demon clan of the demon realm was attacking our human clan. Today, Senior killed 2 great saints of the demon clan. It really raised our human clan's prestige. All right. Xiao Hua helplessly recounted the process of fighting for the magnetic field. The eyes of the others flashed with excitement, but Kong Cheng revealed a thoughtful expression. Good. After Xiao Hua finished speaking, everyone clapped and said, Senior killed the great saints of the demon clan, it is really satisfying. It can be considered as revenge for the hundreds of millions of cultivators of the Xian Alliance. Hee, this is nothing. Xiao Hua laughed, this old man does not like to be ruthless. Unless this old man is forced into a corner, this old man will not be like this. At this point, Kong Cheng hurriedly stepped forward and said respectfully, that's right, Junior has not thanked Senior for not killing Kong Jing. Sigh, Kong Jing's matter is nothing. Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, he did have the thought of taking a risk. He wanted to take advantage of this old man's loss of magic power to capture me and take me to your place to take credit. He did not have any killing intent, so this old man will not kill him. However, this old man's punishment is not light. If he can't calm down and continue to act like a playboy, he will definitely lose his life. Yes, Junior also warned him like this. Kong Chang replied, Junior has seen Senior's cultivation method Jade slip and already understood Senior's painstaking efforts. So first, you broke the clan's law and punished Kong Jing with 1,000 years of seclusion. Senior is too merciful to him. Junior is afraid that he will not be able to control himself and destroy his own life. At that time, this old man didn't expect to meet you. The favor I gave him was merely to repay the karma between your Peacock Mountain Manor and this old man. Xiao Hua laughed mischievously. Didn't this old man just say that 2 nascent soul cultivators were chasing after this old man? The talisman I used to escape is your Peacock Mountain Manor's Phoenix illusion. Oh. Kong Chang finally woke up as if he had just woken up from a dream. He said somewhat shamefully, I'm ashamed. It turns out that it was my ancestor's shadow that saved Kong Jing. Now I understand why Senior favors my Peacock Manor so much. Xiao Hua nodded and said, there's no love without reason in this world, and there's also no hatred without reason. Everything's as karma's fate's karma. Since that's the case, I won't stand on ceremony. I would like to ask you to do me a favor. Kong Chang thought for a moment, then said, Alliance leader Long Shensi agreed to this, but he fell into the demonic path and died. Senior, please help me. Oh. What do you mean? Xiao Hua was puzzled. He looked at the other cultivators who were also puzzled and asked, what did Long Shensi promise you? Kong Chang said with a smile, Senior, do you remember the spiritual item that can make up for one's lifespan? Of course. Xiao Hua said with a smile, how can I not remember the spiritual item that tricked the cultivators of the Tao Alliance? Could it be that there is really such an item in the realm storm in the Tianfeng Forbidden Land? Old man Gu Qiong, Ji Yen Sage, and the others laughed when they heard Xiao Hua's words. They had seen Long Shensi's death and understood that the so-called spiritual item that could make up for one's lifespan was just a bait. How could there be spiritual items in the realm storm? Even Bright Moon Householder, Yang Xia, and the Earth Spirit's Holy Mother smiled. They did not know why Kong Chang brought it up now. Senior, fellow Taoists, there is something you don't know. Kong Chang was a little embarrassed, but he still explained, there is no spiritual item that can make up for one's lifespan. It is just a bait, but I did find the supreme light in the Tianfeng Forbidden Land, so I thought there might be a magnetic item in the realm storm. That was why I went to invite Alliance Master Long Shensi to help me. When he heard about this, he immediately thought of today's ambush. That was why he told me not to leak the information and only said that there was a spiritual item that could make up for one's lifespan. Oh, Senior Xiao, when I went to Tong Lake City, I asked Master Bihu to help my Peacock Mountain Manor find a magnetic item. Supreme Light? Xiao Hua smiled and asked, magnetic items like water essence and ice essence can only be found in magnetic areas. How can there be supreme light? Oh, why does your Peacock Mountain Manor need magnetic items? What kind of magnetic items do you need? Senior, please no. The 5-color divine light that my Peacock Mountain Manor's disciples cultivate requires the magnetic polarity array. Although Kong Chang did not dare to hide it, he still gave a concise introduction. This magnetic polarity array requires magnetic items to be constructed. The magnetic items in the Peacock Mountain Manor have almost been used up, woo. Just as Kong Chang said this, the sound of wind suddenly rang out in the distant Kunlun Mirror's light pillar. The originally orderly black and white light pillar suddenly began to collapse. The Thunderbolt Immortal was somewhat surprised, but also somewhat ecstatic. His voice came from the bottom of Xiao Hua's heart. Fellow Taoist, quick! Come quickly, great news has appeared. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to fly, shua. A layer of clear air inexplicably gushed out from the collapsed black and white light pillar, rushing towards the Tianfeng Forbidden Land like a mighty wave. In just a moment, the nearby space was completely covered. Moreover, after this supreme light, the realm storm, which had already gone out of control, swept over again. If the supreme light was the surface of the sea that made people feel relaxed and happy, this realm storm was the undercurrent under the sea that devoured people's lives. Supreme light. Kong Chang was extremely sensitive to the power of the 5 elements. So, he couldn't help but cry out. "Senior, fellow Taoists, please lend me a hand." A bitter look appeared on Bright Moon Householder's face as he replied, "Kong Chang, we want to lend you a hand. But the spiritual treasure used to suppress the realm storm has already been destroyed. So, how can we help you?" "Senior Shao." Disappointment appeared on Kong Chang's face. He looked at Xiao Hua and implored, "Senior, do you have any way to help me?" Xiao Hua didn't pay attention to Kong Chang's surprise. He had already condensed the principles of the world. So, he didn't need to use his illusion breaker magical eye to see that there was a pitch-black spot in the place where the supreme light was emitted. It didn't even have any luster. It seemed as if it had existed there since ancient times. It was emitting an azure radiance like the sun. When this radiance rushed into the space, it instantly turned into surging waves of supreme light. Not only that, but along with the supreme light, there were also many indescribable mysteries. Some of these mysteries were broken, some were complete, some were instantly integrated into the void, and some were fluttering in the air. When Xiao Hua's gaze fell on the black spot, it was as if his gaze had sunk into it. A layer of coolness appeared all over his body. It was a kind of tranquility that came from the bottom of his heart. Xiao Hua couldn't help but groan. Water. Water origin. It's actually the water origin. Who would have thought that the water origin would exist in the crack between the Yi-Lin continent and the 10,000 demon realm? Although Xiao Hua's voice was soft, it sounded like a thunderclap in everyone's ears. Kong Chang also cried out involuntarily, "What? Senior Xiao, are you sure you didn't see wrong? This is actually the legendary origin of water?" "Nonsense!" Old man Gu Qiong shouted. If the supreme light wasn't produced by the water origin, how could it have the effect of replenishing one's lifespan? Okay. Spiritual Master Ji Yen laughed. The water origin is something in the legends. This old man has only heard of it, but has never seen it. Since we've encountered it today, it can be considered fate. Let's go and lend you a hand. Thank you. Kong Chang cried out happily. Everyone, don't worry. This thing is definitely not something that I can obtain alone. If everyone helps, there will be benefits. Old man Gu Qiong was about to speak, but after hearing Kong Chang's words, he nodded slightly and said, "Since that's the case, let's go and take a look." The water origin is the origin of the 5 elemental laws of heaven and earth. Not to mention the cultivators of the mortal realm, even the immortals of the immortal realm can't obtain a complete water origin. Let's not covet too much. As long as we can find some broken laws or supreme light, it's already good enough. When everyone saw this unprecedented opportunity, although they did not put their reverence for Xiao Hua beyond the highest heavens, at this moment, their eyes were only focused on the water origin, and they did not notice the expression on Xiao Hua's face. Xiao Hua did not listen to Kong Chang and the others at all. He was just excited and looked at the motionless water origin in the distance with some surprise. He thought to himself, "I cultivate the light escape technique because I need to temper my bones with the 5 elemental origins. Previously, I had already obtained the metal, wood, fire, earth, and even the wind and thunder origins, but I just lacked the water origin. Later, I was busy saving the world and did not think about it anymore. In particular, even if the water origin existed on the 3 continents, I did not have enough time to find it. Who would have thought that, at the last moment, during the last step of saving the world, would see the water origin again? The heavens are simply too biased towards this Xiao. If this Xiao cannot treat others with kindness, treat all races with kindness, and repay the heavens with kindness, then this Xiao would be far too ungrateful." As he thought about this, the reverence and gratitude in Xiao Hua's heart rose again. He ignored the cultivators who were rushing toward the realm storm. Instead, he tidied his Taoist robe, knelt solemnly in the air, and kowtowed 9 times respectfully to the sky. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Chidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and give it a tip. Chapter 4997. Senior Shao. Old man Gu Qiong's heart was also stirred. In the face of this supreme temptation, he also lost his mind for a moment. He felt that the water origin was already in his bag, and he had already urged his body to rush toward the water origin. However, when the overwhelming realm storm rushed over and blocked his body, it was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over his head. Old man Gu Qiong immediately sobered up. Although there were many cultivators present, who could really obtain the water origin? Needless to say, it must be Xiao Hua and the few cultivators he brought with him. In particular, although Xiao Hua was with them, the other great sages were near the water origin. Even if someone had the opportunity to obtain the water origin, it would be these great sages who obtained it first. What was the point of them flying over in such a hurry? Therefore, old man Gu Qiong looked at the excited Kong Chang and secretly shook his head as he began to look for Xiao Hua. However, when he saw that Xiao Hua did not fly over but respectfully knelt on the ground and kowtowed to him, he was stunned and cried out in a low voice, "What? What are you doing?" Xiao Hua naturally ignored old man Gu Qiong, but old man Gu Qiong's call of Senior Xiao woke the cultivators of the various Tao Alliance and the Heavenly Alliance up. They all slowly stopped and turned to look at Xiao Hua with a puzzled expression on their faces. Before Xiao Hua could get up, the black and white light beam of the Kunlun mirror had completely collapsed under the impact of the law waves of the water origin. Not to mention that the Kunlun mirror was not complete and the heavenly man had not completely controlled it. Even if the Kunlun mirror was complete, it would not be able to maintain the space passage in the face of the law of heaven and earth. Since the black and white light beam had collapsed, the realm storm of the 10,000 demon realm followed. This realm storm was not as turbulent as the previous two, but it was mixed with more pure law of heaven and earth, and its power was not much weaker than before. Under the impact of the realm storm, old man Gu Qiong and the others could no longer maintain their balance. They all summoned their natal spiritual artifacts and spirit treasures to protect themselves. For a moment, many cultivators were like small boats in a storm, on the verge of capsizing. Looking at Xiao Hua again, there was no brilliance around his body, nor was there any fluctuation of magic power. He was simply wearing a neat Taoist robe, with an indescribable aura of righteousness, with an aura of gratefulness that others couldn't hope to match. He was meticulously kowtowing to the sky, but it was such a simple action that made people look so holy. Even the monstrous realm storm couldn't change his action, and even a corner of his Taoist robe couldn't be lifted. Under the reverence of these cultivators, he was sublimated. Only cultivators can become great sages of the human race. Only such cultivators can transcend the tribulation and become immortals. The same thought appeared in their hearts. Even though they didn't know why Xiao Hua was kowtowing so respectfully, it didn't stop them from having the same thought. Compared to Senior Xiao, the arrogance of our Tao Alliance and Heaven Alliance's seniors during their heavenly tribulations seems like ignorance now. Compared to Senior Zhao's humility, their arrogance isn't even worthy of carrying Senior Zhao's shoes. Xiao Hua kowtowed at a neither fast nor slow pace, as if he didn't care about the gains and losses of the water origin. After a few minutes, he stood up and looked at the cultivators in the distance who were trying their best to resist the realm storm. He said somewhat embarrassedly, "Everyone, especially fellow Taoist Kong, I'm a little sorry. This water source is related to a martial art that this Xiao cultivates, so this Xiao is determined to obtain it. Of course, fellow Taoist Kong, you don't have to worry about the primordial magnet that your Peacock Mountain Manners array needs. I just happen to have a leftover primordial magnet that I can give to your Kong family. Oh, of course, this primordial magnet has been contaminated by dragon qi. I don't know if you care." Xiao Hua's apology once again made everyone feel uncomfortable. In their minds, destiny is constant, and only the virtuous can occupy it. Of course, virtuous, couldn't be measured. It could only be distinguished by strength and means. Judging from the current situation, Xiaohua's strength was definitely not something that Elder Gu Qiong and the others could resist, let alone great saints like the Thunderbolt Immortal. Elder Gu Qiong and the others felt that their magic power was increasingly restricted under the realm storm. Even if they faced the water origin, they probably wouldn't be able to snatch it, right? However, Xiaohua, who should be able to get the water origin, gave such an apologetic explanation and even offered to compensate Kong Chang. How could they not feel incredulous? Kong Chang didn't know how the other cultivators felt, but he knew that after hearing Xiaohua's words, he definitely felt like he had regained something he had lost. He hurriedly called out, "Many thanks, Senior Xiao. Many thanks, Senior Xiao. This junior is proficient in the 5-colored divine light. If Senior needs. No, this junior will help Senior get this water origin. As for the primordial magnet, Junior will make a fair trade with Senior." That's right. Bright Moon Householder also shouted, "Senior has treated us so well, so how can we snatch it from Senior? We'll go and help Senior right away." Elder Gu Qiong's heart also became warm, and he had already thrown the idea of snatching the water origin out of his mind. He shouted, "Let's go, let's go. Since Senior Xiao needs it, we will naturally help Senior Xiao." At this time, everyone was sincerely willing to help, and there was no hypocrisy in their voices. Xiao Hua was also happy to hear this, but just as he was about to speak, woo! Another realm storm rushed over like a fierce beast. Even someone as strong as Elder Gu Qiong couldn't help but stagger and almost lose his balance in the storm. Obviously, the appearance of the water origin had caused an abnormality in the realm storm. Seeing that the water origin in the distance was about to fall, Xiao Hua hurriedly shouted, "Fellow Taoists, your strength is still shallow, and I'm afraid that you won't be able to help much under the might of heaven and earth. This old man appreciates your kindness, but please leave for the time being. Wait until this old man obtains the water origin." The more than 10 supreme cultivators of the Yi-Lin continent were unexpectedly called, "Your strength is still shallow," by Xiao Hua, but at this time, no one dared to say anything. Looking at the increasingly powerful realm storm, they could only avoid it. However, Kong Chang shouted again, "Senior Xiao, the Tai Wei Cyan light is somewhat thin. Could it be that the water origin is about to fall into the 10,000 demon realm? Junior's 5-colored divine light may be able to help Senior, so please let Junior pass." Okay. Of course, Xiao Hua was anxious. Just as he was about to activate his body, he heard Kong Chang's words and his heart unconsciously moved. He nodded and said, "Then I'll have to trouble fellow Kong." After saying that, Xiao Hua waved his big sleeve, and an invisible barrier appeared. He brought Kong Chang and was about to rush into the depths of the Heaven Wind Forbidden Zone. However, at this time, the Yi clan's ancestor who had been silent all this time also shouted, "Senior Xiao, Junior also has a secret technique. Maybe it can help Senior." Oh. Xiao Hua was a bit hesitant. He looked at the Yi clan's ancestor, Yi Zhen. "Senior, please don't worry. This is a secret technique related to the realm storm." Yi Zhen hurriedly shouted, "If Senior needs it, Junior will give it to Senior." Okay. Xiao Hua chose to believe. He also brought Yi Zhen and rushed into the depths of the Heaven Wind Forbidden Zone. When Xiao Hua arrived, the Thunderbolt Immortal and the others had already surrounded the bottom of the Heaven Wind Forbidden Zone. They were all Xiao Hua's doppelgangers, so they did not dare to act rashly. Seeing Xiao Hua coming over, that celestial raised the Kunlun mirror in his hand and shouted, "Fellow Taoist, can you let me try activating the Kunlun mirror? Everyone, please don't be impatient." Although the strength of Xiao Hua and the others did not increase compared to when they broke through the realm storm, now that they had condensed the body of law, they had some resistance to the realm storm. Therefore, under the violent impact of the realm storm, they could still stand firm. Of course, this was also the limit of Xiao Hua and the others. If they were stronger, they would be swept away, so Xiao Hua was still a bit anxious. After Xiao Hua finished speaking, he said to the Thunderbolt Immortal, "Fellow Daoist, you have worked hard. Protect Kong Chang and fellow Daoist Yizhen first." "Well said." The Thunderbolt Immortal rolled up his sleeves and protected Kong Chang and Yizhen. Xiaohua urged his body to move closer to the water origin. When he felt the suction of the realm storm, he hurriedly stopped. At this time, he did not dare to easily cross the realm storm again. Xiaohua took a deep breath and released the aura in the space. Then, he used the Big Dipper magical fist in the realm storm again. However, after a cup of tea's time, the water origin did not show any signs of rising. Instead, it was faintly falling. It seemed that because of the realm storm, the other origin aura in the space and the Big Dipper magical fist could not draw out the water origin. Damn it! Xiaohua cursed in a low voice. He knew in his heart that the water origin should be something from the realm storm. He did not know how it fell into the realm storm. If he wanted to get the water origin, he first had to eliminate the realm storm between the Yilan continent and the realm storm. In other words, he had to first get the water origin from the realm storm to the Yilan continent. This was a realm-crossing divine ability. Xiaohua did not have such strength now. What should I do? At this time, Xiaohua could not help but be a little anxious. After all, he was only 100 feet away from the gathering of the five elements origin. Could it be that it would become the end of the world? "Fellow Huang Tong." Xiaohua hurriedly called out in his heart, "Come over quickly." Huang Tong responded and flew over. Without waiting for Xiaohua to say anything, she flapped her wings. Kacha! The sound of cracking arose from the nearby space. A void passage formed in the realm storm and spread towards the water origin. Unfortunately, this void passage only extended for a few hundred feet. With a loud boom, the void passage collapsed under the realm storm. "Do it again. I, Xiaohua, will lend you a helping hand." Seeing that the water source was actually moving again, Xiaohua became anxious. "Okay." Huang Tong activated her space divine ability again and tore open the realm barrier. Xiaohua also rubbed his hands together and various colors of crystal light were produced. They turned into the power of law and fell on the void passage. Boom boom. In the realm storm, contrary to Xiaohua's anxious mood, the void passage extended forward like a snail. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a month, vote for a recommendation, collect, reward, thank you for all forms of support. Chapter 4998. Fellow Taoists, come and help. Xiaohua hurriedly shouted when he saw that the space channel was beginning to distort. Unfortunately, before he could finish speaking, the void channel had already collapsed. Fellow Taoist. Huang Tong stared at the fragments of the void channel that were scattered in the realm storm and said thoughtfully, "To build a void channel in the realm storm is really difficult. We can't do it at the same time because the realm power is too strong. It will cause the repulsive force of the realm to backfire and easily cause the realm to reverse, sucking us all into the 10,000 demon realm. So we can only use our magic power one by one. But if we do that, this void channel won't last long. Fellow Taoist Xiao, I'm afraid we have no fate with this water source." Xiaohua's mouth was filled with bitterness as he looked at the water origin that was not moving towards the 10,000 demon realm. The azure blue light and shadow looked so warm and cute in his eyes, but he was about to pass by this thing that he had always dreamed of. What else can we do besides breaking through the realm? Xiaohua's mind raced. Yizhen. Suddenly, Xiaohua seemed to have thought of something. He hurriedly rushed up and shouted, "Yi clan ancestor, what is that secret space technique of yours? Can you tell me now?" Senior. Yizhen could not see clearly what was happening in the realm storm, but seeing Xiaohua's anxious look, he did not dare to be negligent. He hurriedly took out a simple jade pendant and respectfully handed it to Xiaohua. "This is passed down by my Yi clan ancestor. Take a look first. If it's useful, Xiaohua did not wait for him to finish and hurriedly reached out to take the jade pendant. Seeing this, Yizhen did not say anything else and quietly waited for Xiaohua's reaction. Xiaohua's divine sense swept over and could not help but be stunned. He looked at Yizhen in surprise and said, This is an immortal technique of the immortal realm? That's right. Yizhen nodded. The Yi clan is not the Yi clan that you think of. Junior will talk about this later. Senior, look at the back. It also records the techniques that cultivators of the mortal realm can use. With Senior's strength, there should be no problem. Xiaohua looked at Yizhen with a complicated gaze and hesitated. When Yizhen saw Xiaohua's expression, he immediately understood what Xiaohua was thinking. He hastily said, Senior, don't think too much. Junior won't ask Senior to do anything. Senior's breadth of mind is truly rare in the mortal world, and even the immortal world. Therefore, Junior is willing to give this to Senior. If Xiaohua continued to decline, that would be too pretentious. He smiled and said, If that's the case, then this Xiao thanks you very much. Alright, that's all I can do. Yizhen said with a smile. Senior, please send me over. I wish you success. Haha, thank you, thank you. Xiaohua laughed and said to Feng Wu, I'll have to trouble fellow Daoist to send fellow Daoist Yi over. Feng Wu grabbed with its sharp claws and flapped its wings to bring Yizhen away. Xiaohua looked at Feng Wu's gradually disappearing demon body and revealed a meaningful smile. Fellow Daoist Huang Tong, can you guess what kind of immortal secret skill is in the Yi clan's Stygian immortal slip? How would this old man know? Huang Tong's figure appeared beside Xiaohua. Her face was filled with confusion as she said, Since it's an immortal technique from the immortal world, of course it's something that the mystic space technique doesn't have, right? Take a look for yourself. Xiaohua carefully handed the Stygian immortal slip to Huang Tong and said, This Yi clan is definitely not simple. TSK. Not far away, the Celestial sneered. They already have an immortal technique inheritance from the immortal world. How could they be a simple family? At this moment, Huang Tong actually exclaimed beside Xiaohua, This is a space-stabilizing technique? How could there be such a miraculous immortal technique? Yes. Xiaohua's gaze was somewhat deep as he nodded and said, An immortal technique that can stabilize space. This Xiao never thought that such an immortal technique existed in this world. With such an immortal technique, one can almost create their own space. Immortal world, immortal world, what a strange place. Huang Tong smiled and said, To actually be able to create such an immortal technique. Now, I am already very interested in the immortal world of the human race. The immortal world is a matter for the future. Xiaohua urged, Fellow Daoist, you should first comprehend this space-stabilizing technique. I'm afraid it's not easy for me to comprehend this space-stabilizing technique in a short period of time. Huang Tong smiled and said, But the channel-maintaining technique recorded in the back of this ink cloud pupil, I will be able to comprehend it soon. With that, Huang Tong immediately began to comprehend it. An immortal technique was an immortal technique. Even if it had been modified to the point where it could be cultivated by cultivators from the mortal world, it was not that simple to comprehend. Huang Tong still took 2 hours to comprehend it. And in these 2 hours, the water origin moved a few feet towards the 10,000 demon realm. This channel-maintaining technique was different from the space spell that Huang Tong had previously cultivated. It was something that he comprehended bit by bit when he was with Xiaohua. While he comprehended it, he also passed it to Xiaohua. Xiaohua naturally shared it with the Celestial and the other avatars. So when Huang Tong could use it, Xiaohua and the others could also use it. Huang Tong was not in a hurry to fly into the realm crack. Instead, she tried a few times using a secret technique nearby. Then, she said to Xiaohua, Fellow Daoist, I will first use a spatial technique to create a spatial tunnel. Fellow Daoist, you can use a technique to maintain the tunnel and then strengthen it. Then, Fellow Daoist Thunder, and the others will form a team and tear a spatial tunnel at the realm barrier. In the end, if the tunnel still cannot reach the origin of water, I will attack with you." After Huang Tong finished assigning tasks, Xiao Hua and the others agreed in unison. Then, just like before, Huang Tong first activated the space spell to tear open the void, and the unstable space channel was revealed. At this time, the realm storm had become much more violent. The space passage had just been created, but it immediately showed signs of collapsing. Xiao Hua didn't dare to be careless. He hurriedly moved his hands, and similarly, snake-like crystal lights fell into the void and rushed into the walls of the space passage. As soon as the crystal lights fell into the space passage, it immediately emitted a pale yellow light and gradually began to stabilize. "Good." Xiao Hua clapped his hands and said, "It really is an immortal technique from the immortal world. Wonderful beyond words." "It's not just that." Huang Tong sighed and said, "This immortal technique is very useful. After this, I hope fellow Taoist Thunder can quickly comprehend it. It might be of great use." "Okay." Xiao Hua activated the spell and ordered, "Fellow Taoist, give the Stygian immortal slip to fellow Taoist Thunder now." "Okay." Huang Tong agreed and flew up. He shouted, "Fellow Taoist Heavenly Tao, you and the others prepare." In the time it took to eat a meal, the space channel had already extended to the top of the water origin. Because of the existence of breaking through the realm barrier, the extension was more difficult and the speed was slower. However, the space channel could still be pushed forward steadily. Xiao Hua and the others were happy. They knew that they were about to succeed. After Xiao Hua and Huang Tong expanded the space channel 2 more times, the water origin had already fallen into the space channel. Seeing thick layers of Tai Wei green light directly rushing into the space channel, Xiao Hua laughed and said, "Success." After saying that, Xiao Hua's figure fell into the space channel again. After approaching the realm barrier, he once again released the aura of the space, and at the same time, performed the Big Dipper magical fist. However, the water origin seemed to be motionless. It was no longer moving in the direction of the 10,000 demon realm. However, it was impossible to let the water origin break through the realm barrier and enter the Yilan continent. "Damn it, damn it, damn it." Xiao Hua retracted the Big Dipper magical fist and cursed fiercely. The heavenly Tao being who was waiting on high called out, "Fellow Taoist, let me try. Let me see if the extinguishing heavenly Dipper can. Fellow Taoist, don't make trouble." Xiao Hua did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Your extinguishing heavenly Dipper is a great killing weapon. It won't be a problem to kill a great saint of the demon race. However, if you want to take the water origin, it's impossible. Fellow Taoist." Suddenly, Reverend Yun said, "When you took the wind and thunder origin, you released the aura of the space. That was because you borrowed the other origin forces in the space. However, today, the origin forces are unable to cross 2 dimensions to draw the water origin. Why not consider drawing the water origin from the Yilan continent with the help of the 5 elements?" Once Reverend Yun said that, Xiao Hua immediately understood. He looked at Kong Chang who was beside the Thunder Reverend and nodded. "Fellow Taoist, you're right. The Kong family's 5-color divine light can brush up all things. There is indeed something mysterious about it. Moreover, he was the first to discover the water origin. If he did not sense the aura of the water origin, I'm afraid he would not be able to do this. Why not let him try?" Just as Xiao Hua finished speaking, thunderbolts flashed around the Thunder Reverend's body and sent Kong Chang down. "Senior Xiao." Kong Chang was very happy to see that he could help Xiao Hua. He said, "This junior can use the 5-color divine light to brush up the water origin for senior." "Hee hee." Xiao Hua laughed. "Fellow Taoist Kong, I am very grateful for your kind intentions. However, although this water origin is very small, it is actually very heavy. I'm afraid even the 5-color divine light cannot withstand it, right? Fellow Taoist, you should do what you can, and don't hurt yourself." "All right." Kong Chang nodded, but his expression was obviously disapproving. It seemed that he was very confident in his five-colored divine light. Sure enough, Kong Chang was very sensitive to the water origin. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to point out the location, after the five-colored divine light flowed out of his eyes, he looked at the water origin at the far end of the spatial tunnel and said, "Senior Xiao and fellow seniors, please stay away from it." Xiao Hua and the others obeyed and flew a distance away. They saw that the surface of Kong Chang's body first emitted a blood-red brilliance, and when the brilliance dimmed a little, a five-colored halo appeared around his body. Buzz! The space tunnel began to vibrate. Finally, with a bird's cry, a five-colored peacock Dharma body condensed from the five-colored light and shadow. As soon as the peacock appeared, thumb-sized vortexes appeared in the surrounding space. All the energies of five elements were sucked into these vortexes and quickly disappeared. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and give it a tip. Chapter 4999. Boom. Kong Chang did not dare to be negligent. He spread out his five-colored wings and flew towards the spatial passageway. Two streaks of five-colored divine light fell like waterfalls. When they reached the boundary of the realm, they suddenly started to twist and turn into a knot of light. Then, they turned into threads and fell towards the origin of water. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The five-colored divine light fell into the origin of water like tired birds returning to their nest. The origin of water actually started to shake. Waves of spatial storms that were 3 times stronger than before actually appeared again, roaring and rushing towards the spatial passageway. Quick! Seeing this, Xiao Hua hurriedly shouted, "Fellow cultivators, I will go and protect fellow cultivator Kong. You all continue to maintain the stability of the spatial passageway." Then, Xiao Hua flew to Kong Chang's side. With a wave of his hands, the laws of heaven and earth condensed into a barrier to block Kong Chang's left side. The Thunderbolt Immortal and the others used their powers to maintain the spatial passageway. It's moving, it's moving. Just as Xiao Hua was distracted, the Celestial shouted. Xiao Hua was delighted. He hurriedly looked towards the other side of the spatial passageway. Indeed, as the five-colored divine light dimmed, the origin of water moved a little. However, when the five-colored divine light was extinguished, the origin of water stopped again. Fellow cultivator Kong. Xiao Hua looked at Kong Chang and said anxiously, "Can you activate the five-colored divine light again?" "As senior wishes." Kong Chang adjusted his breathing slightly and released the five-colored divine light again. After doing this more than 10 times, Kong Chang's face was already pale. The five-colored divine light released by the peacock's celestial body was abnormally dim. However, the origin of water in the spatial passageway had just reached the boundary of the two realms. It had not reached the Yilan continent yet. "Senior." Kong Chang clenched his teeth and said in a low voice, "I have already tried my best. It seems I was too delusional earlier. Not to mention with my own strength, even with the help of Alliance leader Long Shensi and many fellow cultivators of the Heavenly Alliance, it is still impossible to obtain the origin of water." Although Kong Chang did not say it clearly, Xiao Hua understood. If it was him, Xiao Hua would not mind fighting for it. However, Kong Chang was not him. Xiao Hua did not have the right to ask him to fight for him. Xiao Hua thought for a moment and said apologetically, "Fellow Taoist Kong, this Xiao knows that you've already done your best. However, this item is really too important to this Xiao. This Xiao earnestly requests that, can you use the five-colored divine light one last time?" "Alas, actually." Kong Chang sighed. "Senior, you don't have to say that." That day, Kong Jing was able to return to the Peacock Manor alive and even gave the cultivation technique Jade Slip to this junior. This junior has already regarded senior as the benefactor of my Peacock Manor. Whatever junior can do for senior, there is no need for senior to be courteous. Junior will do his best for senior. However, there seemed to be a powerful barrier in front of the water origin, preventing it from moving forward. If this junior's guess is correct, it should be the spatial barrier between the 10,000 demon realm and my Yilan continent. With this junior's strength, I'm afraid that it's impossible for me to lead the water source to break through the barrier. My 5-colored divine light isn't the true origin of the 5 elements. It's still too weak to attract the origin of water. Oh. Xiaohua's eyes lit up as if he had thought of something. He hurriedly asked, what if there's a true origin of the 5 elements? Senior, please don't joke around. Kong Cheng smiled bitterly. Even if there is, how can this junior activate it? I understand. Xiaohua smiled. Fellow Taoist Kong, can you activate the 5-colored divine light one last time? This Xiao will lend you a hand. All right. Kong Cheng did not hesitate at all and nodded. This junior is willing to risk his life for senior. Why would I be afraid of the 5-colored divine light? After he finished speaking, Kong Cheng's body was suffused with a dark blood light. The blood light went against the sky and soaked the peacock celestial body. Then, the peacock celestial body let out a mournful cry and activated the 5-colored divine light once again. Seeing the 5-colored divine light rushing out, Xiaohua also activated the spiritual power in his body. Then, he opened his mouth again. Pooh! With a sound, the 6-colored spiritual fire rushed out and fell on the 5-colored divine light. Boom! The spiritual fire fell on the 5-colored divine light, and the 4-colored light shone brightly like the stars. Moreover, the 5-colored divine light that was originally slowly washing over the 5-colored divine light suddenly surged violently like the waves of the sea. It washed through the space passage, crashed into the barrier between the 2 realms, and fell into the water origin. Something strange happened again. The water origin seemed to have been lit up by the 5-colored divine light. It suddenly emitted a brilliance. When this brilliance landed on the 5-colored divine light, it immediately dyed the blue light belt. Then, the water origin increased its speed and like a meteor, it rushed towards the barrier between the Yilan continent and the 10,000 demon realm. Pooh! With an almost silent muffled sound, the water origin broke through the barrier between the 2 realms and fell into the Yilan continent. Ga. The peacock celestial body on Kong Cheng's body whimpered and shrank back into Kong Cheng's body. Moreover, Kong Cheng's body went soft and collapsed in the space passage. Xiaohua did not have time to help Kong Cheng up and shouted loudly, fellow Taoist Kong, I can't thank you enough for your kindness. I will repay you generously later. Fellow Taoist Lei, quickly send fellow Taoist Kong over. Then, Xiaohua hurriedly released the spatial aura and even used the Big Dipper God Fist. As expected by Xiaohua, where the spatial aura landed, the water origin was immediately attracted by the 6 types of origin powers and accelerated into Xiaohua's body. Fellow Taoists. Xiaohua suddenly thought of something and whispered, quickly return to your positions. We have 7 types of origin powers to temper our bodies. We need to complete the light escape technique, good. The celestial being and the others were overjoyed and shouted. Their bodies swayed and entered Xiaohua's body one after another. See. The water origin entered Xiaohua's left arm and another indescribable pain was born. Xiaohua's arm was twisted and deformed. It was first annihilated and then regenerated. At the same time, the celestial being, Fengwu and Huang Tong also began to change. A moment later, the thunderbolt immortal returned. Without saying anything, he also rushed into Xiaohua's lower dantian and sat down cross-legged. The tempering of the water origin was similar to that of the other 6 origin powers. Xiaohua also didn't let go of the spiritual fire. Wherever the water origin passed, the 6-colored spiritual fire turned into 7-colored spiritual fire. Even the thunderbolt immortal, the starry sky scattered nascent soul and the other hundreds of scattered nascent souls in his lower dantian were also baptized by the water origin. After an unknown period of time, Xiaohua's body of laws was tempered once again. Then, the water origin fell into the space along with the 5 elements aura. Rumble. A huge rumbling sound was born everywhere in the space. Different planes in the space shook at the same time. Countless mysterious fluctuations were born above the starry sky and rippled in all directions. When the water origin slowly fell into the starry sky, the entire starry sky suddenly darkened and then brightened up. Above the starry sky, there was no longer a blur. Even the fine traces of the stars could be seen clearly. An indescribable feeling emerged from the jade archive Xiao Hua's heart. This is perfection. The brilliance around the jade archive Xiao Hua's body also shone brightly. He looked around and looked at the space around him. A feeling of control was born from the bottom of his heart. He couldn't help but whisper, "Is this the ability to control the heavens and the earth?" However, it was only a short moment before Jade Archive Xiao Hua shook his head and said with a smile, "No, this is merely the control of 7 types of quintessence energy. I still don't understand the meaning of this quintessence energy, and I don't understand the source of this quintessence energy. I still have a very long way to go. Of course, even so, I's light escape should be almost perfect. Taking shelter in the light is escape." After saying that, Xiao Hua came out from the space and returned to his mind and body. When Xiao Hua opened his eyes, his face was once again filled with surprise. He looked around in disbelief and then frowned. This was because in his eyes, nothing had changed. The realm storm was still the realm storm, and the space passage was still the space passage. It was just that the realm storm, which had lost the origin of water, was calmer than before. The light produced by the realm principles colliding with each other didn't bring Xiao Hua any joy. Damn it. Xiao Hua's burning expectations seemed to have been doused with cold water. He couldn't help but curse in a low voice. This Xiao spent a lot of effort and even begged the Yi family's ancestor, Old Man Peacock, and even used the immortal world's secret technique and the 5-color divine light to absorb the origin of water into my body. But why didn't it have any effect? Could it be that this Xiao's cultivation of the light escape technique has deviated? After all, there are only light shadows in the light escape technique, and there aren't any techniques. This Xiao only knows how to use the origin of 5 elements to temper my bones. Could it be that there are other tricks to cultivating the light escape technique? After cursing in a low voice, Xiao Hua's mood gradually calmed down. The other doppelgangers didn't come out. They were all absorbing the origin of water in Xiao Hua's body. Xiao Hua pinched his chin again. Looking at the realm crack below him, he secretly thought, both Old Man Gu Qiong and Bright Moon Householder mentioned the space passage. Isn't this realm crack in front of me a space passage? With their strength, they couldn't break the realm crack earlier because there was a realm storm coming from the 10,000 demon realm. After the realm storm subsided, they could naturally reach the 10,000 demon realm. The reason why they wanted to ask this Xiao for help was that they were worried that they would lose all their spiritual power after reaching the 10,000 demon realm. They wouldn't be able to deal with the sudden attack of the 10,000 demon realm. Of course, it's meaningless for them to enter the 10,000 demon realm alone. They must want to bring their disciples and grand disciples with them, just like the Xian Alliance. Previously, this Xiao had no way. Now that this Xiao has obtained the Yi family's space maintenance technique, although it can only maintain the void passage, it can also open a passage for them in this realm storm. It's just that I can't guarantee that their spiritual power won't be exhausted. This thought had appeared in Xiao Hua's mind more than once. Now, it was growing like wild grass. Xiao Hua thought for a moment, then shook his head again and said, "Forget it. The Xian Alliance's Alliance Master has a space spirit treasure that can open a space passage. This Xiao doesn't have this ability now. Don't waste the hundreds of millions of cultivators of the Yilan continent. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a monthly vote, vote for a recommendation vote, collect, reward, and thank all forms of support." Chapter 5000. As he spoke, Xiao Hua was about to move, but as soon as he moved, he froze on the spot. Because as soon as he activated the flying technique, some silk-like shadows appeared near him. The shadows were of different colors and had different lengths. Xiao Hua calmed down for a moment, and his face was filled with ecstasy. He activated the flying technique again and flew toward the heavenly wind forbidden zone. After a while, the joy on Xiao Hua's face faded, and he stood in the realm storm with a smile on his face. So that's how it is. Xiao Hua thought to himself, although this Xiao has already absorbed the 5 elemental origins into my body, the final water origin hasn't completely tempered my bones. Thus, this Xiao has only just touched upon the threshold of light escape and has yet to reach the next level. Since it is the threshold, what I see is naturally the outline. The light near me can only be in the shape of lines, cotton, or clouds. When I complete the last layer of the 7 colors bone refinement technique, I will be able to make contact with these lights and use the earth escape technique, wood escape technique, and so on to escape with the help of light. Damn it, just thinking about it makes me excited. Ordinary 5 elements escape techniques only use the earth, wood, water, fire, metal, and other elements to escape, but I can actually use light. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua was stunned again and almost cried out involuntarily, "No way." If so, wouldn't my light escape technique be invincible in the world? In this world, where is there no light? Even in the night, there is light. As long as there is light, I can escape. Moreover, as far as I know, no restriction can confine light, right? In other words, it's impossible for all restrictions to trap me? Oh, of course, if a cultivator whose strength is far greater than mine freezes the space before I escape, I might not be able to escape. Xiao Hua thought quickly and flew toward Old Man Gu Qiong and the others. Behind him, the realm storm was as turbulent as before, and the heavenly wind forbidden zone was restored to its original state. After Xiao Hua flew into the heavenly wind forbidden zone, Old Man Gu Qiong and the others didn't approach him. Instead, they flew far away and avoided the center of the storm. When they saw Xiao Hua flying over with a smile on his face, they looked at each other and hurriedly flew over. They cupped their fists and said, "Congratulations, Senior Xiao." "Congratulations." Congratulations to you too." Xiao Hua was happy in his heart and returned the greeting with a smile. He looked at everyone and said, as the saying goes, everyone picks up firewood to make the fire stronger. If it weren't for fellow Taoist Yi and fellow Taoist Kong today, even if I saw this item, I'm afraid I would have to return empty-handed. Senior Xiao. Yizhen said with a smile, "In fact, you to obtain the water origin to obtain the water origin, and with your strength, you to the 3 continents of the heavenly wind forbidden zone is origin of the origin to obtain the origin. It's just that you are worried about the billions of creatures in the 3 continents, so you would rather not obtain the heavenly wind forbidden zone and return to the lost land. You don't want to repeat the same mistake. Yes, it's because you care about the world that the heavenly wind forbidden zone sent us to help you." Kong Chung also smiled and said, "And to be honest, in my life, I have encountered many spiritual treasures, and there have been many opportunities to snatch them. But there has never been a time when I was sincerely willing to give away the spiritual treasure. This is not because of how powerful Senior is, but because Senior's moral conduct is truly admirable to this junior. Let me give you an example. When I helped you just now, I could have used my Dharma body to cross realms and enter the 10,000 demon realm. Naturally, I could have obtained the water origin, but at that time, I didn't have such thoughts at all. I just wanted to help you get the spiritual item. Of course, you trusted me a lot and didn't avoid anything. You let me touch the spiritual treasure freely. This is one of the reasons why I didn't have any grudges at all. Thank you, everyone." Xiao Hua was too lazy to distinguish whether these words were true or not. He smiled and raised his hand to take out a lot of rejuvenation pills and immortal peaches and gave them to everyone. "You are all the supreme cultivators of the Yi-Lin continent, so I can't give you ordinary pills and magic tools. These things are useful for making up for your lifespan, so please accept them. Senior Xiao is too polite." Old man Gu Qiong and the others were a little embarrassed and said one after another. Take them. Xiao Hua said with a smile, this is what I promised you before. Thank you, senior. Everyone took the spiritual treasures and couldn't refuse. Kong Chang hesitated and asked in a low voice, Senior, if it's possible, can you give me some more Tai Wei green light? Xiao Hua smiled bitterly and said, this Xiao knows what you mean. Logically speaking, the quintessence of water is capable of producing boundless grand moon azure light, so this Xiao has no problem giving you some. But, the quintessence of water has already been fused into this Xiao's body. This Xiao is unable to take out this grand moon azure light. Ah! Everyone opened their mouths in shock. They wanted to say something, but no one knew what to say. Perhaps they didn't have the same understanding of the water origin, but one thing was for sure, and that was, it was an origin item. Since it was an origin item, how could it be integrated into one's body? They didn't know if immortals could integrate it into their bodies, but they at least knew that Xiao Hua could integrate it into his body. Then, was he still human? Was he still a cultivator from the mortal world? Xiao Hua was also very helpless. He didn't want to say this kind of secret, but if he didn't say it, he wouldn't be able to find a better way to explain why he couldn't give out the Tai Wei cyan light. A lie needed 100 lies to cover it up. He understood this principle, so he simply told half of the truth. Say. Senior. After a long while, Kong Cheng stuttered, You've never encountered a situation where your lifespan has been depleted, right? Xiao Hua nodded and said, that's true. Kong Cheng suddenly understood. He took a deep breath and said, I don't dare to ask about Senior's secret, but since Senior's body can integrate with an origin item, then Senior's lifespan should be as long as the heavens, right? I don't know about this. Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, that's a matter for immortals to consider. It's just that my cultivation technique is different, and I need it. Moreover, old man Gu Qiong also came back to his senses and asked hastily, Senior, did you perceive the existence of the gate of the celestial realm? I'm sorry. Xiao Hua shook his head and said, my cultivation technique is different from that of the Yi-Lin continent. I crossed the tribulation and reached the Mahayana realm, so I didn't perceive the existence of the gate of the celestial realm. Then, Senior's ascension. Bright Moon Householder was also concerned about this matter, so he asked hastily. Taoist Ji Yen didn't wait for Bright Moon Householder to finish speaking. He also came back to his senses and said hastily, that's right. Senior's strength has already surpassed us juniors in the late stage of the crossing tribulation realm, so you should have ascended long ago. I have a secret technique to suppress my realm. Xiao Hua explained, if it weren't for the billions of living beings in the 3 continents, would have ascended long ago. So that's how it is. Old man Gu Qiong, Bright Moon Householder, and Taoist Ji Yan's eyes lit up, and they suddenly understood. Soon after, they probed carefully, Senior, if it's possible, could you let us watch the ceremony when you ascend? Old man Gu Qiong was afraid that Xiao Hua would misunderstand him, so he quickly explained that he couldn't sense the gate of the celestial realm. He then said with a smile, Senior, should have ascended long ago, but the world's spiritual energy changed, and I couldn't find the gate of the celestial realm. So, I stayed in the mortal world for too long, and my vital energy, which had undergone a transformation before, started transforming again. I'm afraid that my 100,000 years of cultivation will turn into water. This is why I want to watch the ceremony from the side and see whether I still have a chance. Senior, please have mercy on me. That's right. We also have the same idea. Senior, please have mercy on us. Bright Moon Householder and the others said as they looked eagerly at Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua shrugged and said with a smile, I don't care. However, I'm going to cross the Wuming Mountain range to the Dawn Rain continent, so I won't stay in the Yi-Lin continent for long. If there are no accidents, I will complete my ascension in the Dawn Rain continent. If you want to watch the ceremony, I'm afraid you can only follow me to the Dawn Rain continent. Of course, if you follow me to the Dawn Rain continent and help me solve the problem of the celestial array, I will thank you on behalf of the billions of people in the 3 continents. After Xiaohua finished speaking, everyone looked at each other. Xiaohua had already said that he was going to the Dawn Rain continent, but at that time, they didn't realize that he was about to ascend. Now that he mentioned it, everyone hesitated and thought about what to do. Senior. After a while, old man Gu Qiong was the first to speak. He said helplessly, when you said that you were going to the Dawn Rain continent to break the celestial array and save the world, we were all excited and wanted to follow you, but why didn't we say anything? It was because the Wuming mountain range was between the Yilin continent and the Lost Land, which was the Dawn Rain continent. The Wuming mountain range was too dangerous. It was even more dangerous than the realm shackles from the Yilin continent to the 10,000 demon realm. If we passed through the realm shackles, we could survive, but if we passed through the Wuming mountain range, we would definitely die. Bright Moon Householder also said, what old man Gu Qiong said is right. It's not that we don't want to go to the Lost Land to help you, but we really don't dare to. We may know more about the Wuming mountain range than the Taoists of the Taoist Alliance. However, what we know is limited because a long time ago, some seniors of the Heavenly Alliance tried to pass through the Wuming mountain range, but almost none of them succeeded. The more powerful a cultivator is, the easier it is to die in the Wuming mountain range. For example, Void Refinement Realm and Primordial Spirit Refinement Realm cultivators couldn't pass through it. Only Nascent Soul Realm and Golden Core Realm cultivators were relatively safe. As for us, we don't even dare to think about it. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, give it a tip, and Chapter 5001. Oh. Does it mean that the higher one's power is, the less stable the transmission tunnel is? Xiaohua asked curiously. Yes, this is one of the reasons. Bright Moon Householder nodded hastily. There wasn't any passage from the Yilin continent to the Lost Land. But, a transmission tunnel was built at an unknown time. This tunnel is very unstable, and it's always on and off. So, the higher the power of a cultivator, the easier it is for him to make the tunnel collapse. Of course, this transmission tunnel is still safe, and it's much better than the outside world. But, even so, it's still not a place where we can go. After Bright Moon Householder reached this point, he suddenly understood and said with a smile, Senior, do you want to use this transmission tunnel? If that's the case, I will pass down an order to the Illusion Immortal Alliance and the Defeat Oak Immortal Alliance, which are near the Wuming mountain range, and ask them to cooperate with you. Don't. Xiaohua said with a smile and waved his hand. I've already infiltrated them, and I'm about to pass their selection. So, wouldn't I be bored if you passed down the order? Senior, you still want to pass the selection? Bright Moon Householder was taken aback. He then asked curiously, do these immortal alliances have any plans? Yes, how could I have reached the Heavenly Wind Forbidden Land if I hadn't passed the selection of the Defeat Oak Immortal Alliance? Xiaohua explained the matter with a smile. Then, he said, it's just a trivial matter, and the Heavenly Alliance doesn't need to meddle in it. I want to see what plans the demon race has. When Bright Moon Householder heard about the demon race, he was startled. But, when he thought about the demon venerable that he had just witnessed, as well as the demonized dragon god's son that had been crushed by Xiaohua's palm, he calmed down and said with a smile, Senior, since you want to play with them, I won't disturb your mood and alert them. After he said this, he hesitated for a moment and reminded him, Senior, among the 72 immortal alliances of the Heavenly Alliance, the Illusion Immortal Alliance and the Defeat Oak Immortal Alliance are near the edge of the Wuming mountain range. Especially the Defeat Oak Immortal Alliance. Their leader is called Lian Feng. He's a Taoist disciple who cultivates the nascent soul. Moreover, he's only a late-stage combination cultivator. Therefore, he's an unworthy leader in the Heaven Alliance. Not only does he have no status in the ordinary alliances, but the nearby immortal alliances also look down on him. As far as I know, Lian Feng is also an ambitious man. In his early years, he had some conflicts with the Illusion Immortal Alliance. Later, Long Shensi called him over and gave him a good scolding. Lian Feng's idea of expanding his forces to other places was crushed. Then, he coveted the Wuming Mountain range. I heard that he sent many disciples to infiltrate the Changcheng Plains and join forces with the local soul cultivators. However, when he wanted to infiltrate deep into the Wuming Mountain range, he couldn't. Therefore, he set his sights beyond the Wuming Mountain range and looked at the Lost Land. Before I left the Lost Land, I was a low-level disciple. Xiaohua nodded and replied thoughtfully, I didn't see the layout of the Defeat Oak Immortal Alliance, but since the name of the Defeat Oak Immortal Alliance has spread, I'm afraid Lian Feng's arrangement has some effect. I don't know much about this, Senior. Bright Moon Householder said embarrassedly, this matter was reprimanded by the Alliance Master Long Shensi. So, it's not appropriate for me to ask about it. Moreover, my Heavenly Alliance is naturally peaceful now that Lian Feng isn't causing trouble in the Yi-Lin continent. As for where he's developing his strength, my Heavenly Alliance can't say anything about it. I presume that Lian Feng wanted to meddle in the Lost Land and occupy it. Therefore, the devil took advantage of this opportunity and invaded it. Senior, since you're going there, could you do me a favor and take a look at that Lian Feng? Oh, and their Deputy Alliance Master Jia Zuoxiong? See whether they've been possessed by the devil or not. If they've been possessed by the devil, please help me. Xiaohua waved his hand and said with a smile, you're thinking too much. I was only a nascent soul cultivator at the selection site. So, how could I possibly see their alliance master? You can go and see for yourself after some time. That's good. Bright Moon Householder said with a smile, after we go back, we'll have to discuss the alliance between the Heavenly Alliance and the Taoist Alliance. So, this alliance meeting must be held. Xiaohua wanted to mention that the Kunlun mirror could take them to the Dawn Rain continent. However, he thought that their lives would be in his hands. Moreover, these cultivators were the mainstays of the Yi-Lin continent. Moreover, he had made many arrangements before leaving the 3 continents. So, how could they leave so easily? Moreover, he couldn't wait for a long time. So, it wasn't realistic for the Heavenly Alliance to follow him to the Dawn Rain continent. Therefore, Xiaohua didn't mention this matter. He said with a smile, since you can't pass through the Wuming Mountain range, you'd better not take this risk. Perhaps, after the immortal formation is broken, the change of the spiritual energy in the Dawn Rain continent and the Yi-Lin continent will slow down. At that time, the gate of the celestial realm may appear again. Gu Qiong's face was filled with joy at first. But, it soon turned bitter. Xiaohua's words were reasonable. However, he didn't believe that he could sense the gate of the celestial realm just because the immortal formation was broken. However, this kind of cultivation path was the will of the world. So, Xiaohua naturally couldn't dispel his doubts. Does the Heavenly Alliance have any records about the Wuming Mountain range and the teleportation tunnel? Xiaohua asked Bright Moon Householder. Bright Moon Householder replied embarrassedly, Senior, I had some records about it. But, I had to cross over to the other world, so those things were destroyed. After I came back, I just cultivated calmly and didn't pay attention to them. If Alliance Master Long Shensi was here, he would have. Hee. Forget it if you don't have them. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, I will act according to the circumstances. Senior. Bright Moon Householder reminded him, your cultivation has already surpassed the Yi-Lin continent's worldly law. So, you should pay more attention to the Wuming Mountain range. Don't be too careless. Okay, I got it. Xiaohua looked at the crowd and said with a smile, you made a trip in vain this time. But, since the Tao Alliance and the Heavenly Alliance joined hands, this trip could be considered a successful one. Yes. Gu Qiong and Bright Moon Householder exchanged a glance before they bowed and said, we have received Senior Zhao's teachings today. In the future, the cultivation path of the Tao Alliance's billions of cultivators will be our top priority. We will support each other and cross this great tribulation together. After we come back, we will carry out the details of our previous discussion. Senior, you can rest assured. Daoist Ji Yen said, moreover, we will inform the Heavenly Alliance and the Tao Alliance's other cultivators about your plan. We won't overlook it. Good. Xiaohua clapped his hands and said, fellow Taoists, the spirits of the Tao ancestor and the Tao master in the heavens will also smile. However, other than the matter of my Tao sect, I'm still concerned about the billions of living beings in the 3 continents. I've mentioned the immortal formation before. May I know if any of you have seen the records of this immortal formation? Gu Qiong and Bright Moon Householder exchanged a glance again. Bright Moon Householder said, Senior, when you went to collect the water origin, we discussed it with fellow Taoist Gu Qiong and many other fellow Taoists. The celestial array was never mentioned in the records of the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance. If you didn't mention the Lost Land today, we wouldn't even know that the Lost Land is called the Dawn Rain Continent. Therefore, we are powerless to break the celestial array. It doesn't matter. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, if you can help us, then help us. If you can't help us, then we will. Then, we won't disturb you anymore. We hope that you can pass the selection smoothly and reach the Lost Land as soon as possible. Gu Qiong said with a smile, of course, we also hope that you can break the celestial array as soon as possible. Not only will you save the billions of living beings in the 3 continents, but you will also let us sense the gate of the celestial realm again. Thank you, thank you. I hope that I won't disappoint you. Xiaohua raised his hand to return the salute, and the others also saluted and left. However, the Yi family's old ancestor and Old Man Peacock said with a smile, fellow Taoists, please go ahead. We still have some matters to discuss with Senior Xiao. Gu Qiong and the others knew that Xiaohua would reward them handsomely for their hard work. Therefore, they nodded their heads and left first. After they left, Kong Cheng took a deep look at Yizhen and said with a meaningful smile, fellow Taoist Yi, it seems that your matter is quite secretive. Then, I will make a deal with Senior Xiao first. Okay, fellow Taoist Kong, please go ahead. Yizhen nodded with a smile. Xiaohua looked to his left and said, fellow Taoist Kong, this is the edge of the realm, and it's not convenient for us to exchange the magnetism. Why don't we go somewhere else first? Oh, it's my mistake. Kong Cheng slapped his forehead and said with a smile, I neglected this matter. Senior, please. Senior Xiao, I'll wait here. Yizhen said to avoid arousing suspicion. Okay. Xiaohua nodded and flew away with Kong Cheng. After they left the heavenly wind forbidden area, Kong Cheng and Xiaohua flew for the time it took to brew a cup of tea before they stopped. They looked around and said, Senior, although this place is still within the heavenly wind forbidden area, it's already far from the center. What do you think of this place? Xiaohua shook his head and said, no, we need to go further. Senior, you mean? Kong Cheng was shocked. Then, joy appeared on his face and he hurriedly said, okay, Senior, please. After flying for the time it took to eat a meal, Kong Cheng stopped again. Seeing Xiaohua nod, he took out a storage ring and respectfully handed it to Xiaohua. Senior, I'll have to trouble you to put the magnetism inside. Junior will take a look. Oh, by the way, I haven't asked, what magnetism is this? Metal and wood magnetism, I wonder if you're satisfied. Xiaohua took the storage ring and answered casually. Kong Cheng was overjoyed and nodded his head like a chicken pecking rice. Of course, it's excellent, excellent. As Xiaohua spoke, he took out the Kunlun mirror. Under the urging of his magic power, a beam of light emerged from the mirror. Then, Xiaohua took out the metal and wood magnetism from the Southern Sea Dragon Palace and put it into the Yin and Yang bracelet. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a monthly vote for a recommendation vote, collect a gift, and thank you for all forms of support. Chapter 5002. As soon as the metal and wood elemental magnet entered the heaven and earth bracelet, the heaven and earth bracelet immediately trembled and cracks appeared on its surface. Xiao Hua's face was pale as he hurriedly took out the metal and wood elemental magnet from the collapsed space. Ah! Not only did Xiao Hua's expression change slightly, but even Kong Chang was greatly shocked. Looking at the heaven and earth ring that was rapidly turning into fragments, he anxiously said, "Senior, fortunately." Xiao Hua waved the Kunlun mirror in his hand and said with some lingering fear, "I saw the opportunity early and the metal and wood magnetism didn't disappear with the collapse of space. Junior was careless." Kong Chang smiled bitterly and said, "Although Junior was prepared, I didn't expect Senior's magnetism to be so big." Senior's magnetism seems to be what Junior thought. Yes, this metal and wood magnetism is more than 3,650 mu in size. Xiao Hua nodded and said, "What?" Kong Chang was dumbstruck and said in surprise, "Senior, how much did you say?" 3,650 mu. Yes? Xiao Hua was very innocent and didn't know why Kong Chang was so surprised. He replied, "It's 3,650 mu. How big is your Peacock Mountain Manor's magnetism?" Say, Senior. Even though Kong Chang was a Dao integration cultivator and didn't lack experience, when he heard the size of the metal and wood magnetism, he was still shocked speechless. After a long while, he stammered, "My Peacock Mountain Manor's magnetism is more than 360 mu. Then this thing?" Xiao Hua asked, "Does fellow Daoist still want it?" Yes, how can I not want it?" Kong Chang hurriedly nodded and said, "Junior definitely wants it. However, Junior can delay Senior for a while. Take this." Speaking up to here, Kong Chang didn't say anything else and hurriedly took out a palm-sized jade slip from his bosom and handed it to Xiao Hua, saying, "Senior, Junior won't say anything else. This is the cultivation method of my Peacock Mountain Manor's 5-colored divine light. Junior sees that Senior's 6-colored spirit fire is very powerful. Perhaps you can use Junior's cultivation method to cultivate a 6-colored divine fire." If that's the case, then I'll be disrespectful. Xiao Hua had long been drooling over the Peacock Manor's 5-colored divine light. Seeing Kong Chang like this, he didn't decline and took the jade slip to take a look. When he saw it, he exclaimed, "What's wrong? This is also a Stygian immortal bamboo slip? This 5-colored divine light is also an immortal technique?" Kong Chang smiled and said, "The Yi clan is an immortal cultivator clan with a history, so is my Peacock Mountain Manor. Furthermore, didn't I tell you earlier that I would report to you alone? Junior has actually been to the 10,000 demon realm before." "Oh? You've been there too?" Xiao Hua asked curiously. "Yes." Kong Chang didn't hide and said, "My Peacock Mountain Manor's descendants have the 5-colored Peacock Demon clan's bloodline. Junior doesn't know how this bloodline came about, and there are no records of it in my ancestors. However, Junior knows that every 500,000 years, the bloodline of my Peacock Mountain Manor's descendants will undergo a transformation. At this time, the Peacock Mountain Manor's patriarch needs to go to the 10,000 demon realm and go to a place called the Heavenly Feather Sacred World to undergo a trial. When Junior took over the Peacock Mountain Manor, it happened to be 500,000 years of bloodline transformation. Junior had just cultivated to the Dao integration stage, and immediately went to the 10,000 demon realm according to the records of my ancestors. To be honest, the space passage from the Yi-Lin continent to the 10,000 demon realm is actually in the Heaven Wind Forbidden area. Junior also encountered the Tai Wei green light when crossing over that year." Heavenly Feather Sacred World? Xiao Hua frowned slightly. He clearly remembered that Dai had mentioned the Heavenly Feather Sacred World in the 10,000 demon realm, and even said that Xian Wan gave her a token, the Heavenly Pure Feather. However, when Xiao Hua was in the 10,000 demon realm, he was worried about the 3 continents and came and went in a hurry. He only met the Phoenix clan's Feather Wind King once and never inquired about it. He had never been to the Heavenly Feather Sacred World, so he didn't know where the Heavenly Feather Sacred World was. Kong Chang slightly revealed some of the secrets of the Peacock Mountain Manor. Looking at Xiao Hua's expression, he smiled and said, "Senior, do you know about this Heavenly Feather Sacred World?" "I've heard of it, but I've never been there." Xiao Hua replied without hiding anything. Junior only knows that place is called the Heavenly Feather Sacred World, and Junior also knows the image of the 10,000 demon realm. "I come and go according to the records of my ancestors, and I dare not make any mistakes." Kong Chang said again, "So Junior is not as clear as Senior about the other situations of the 10,000 demon realm. Does fellow cultivator have plans to move the Peacock Mountain Manor to the 10,000 demon realm?" Xiao Hua asked, "After all, your Peacock Mountain Manor has a route to the 10,000 demon realm and a safe Heavenly Feather Sacred World." "No." Kong Chang shook his head, "The space passage is too dangerous, only Dao integration cultivators can pass through, and the Heavenly Feather Sacred World in the 10,000 demon realm is not a good place. Junior does not have such plans." After saying this, Kong Chang smiled and said, "Junior's experience in the 10,000 demon realm was used on the array of the Peacock Mountain Manor, so this metal and wood magnetism is extremely important to Junior and my Peacock Mountain Manor. It's just that Junior never thought that the metal and wood magnetism in Senior's hands would be so big. With this item, my Peacock Mountain Manor would not be afraid of bloodline transformation for 1,000,000 years. So, I ask Senior to spend some time to send this metal and wood magnetism to the Peacock Mountain Manor. Can't you take it away yourself?" Xiao Hua frowned slightly. "This." Kong Chang hesitated and said, "Then Junior will try. Senior can send the metal and wood magnetism out of the magic tool, okay?" Xiao Hua nodded and waved the Kunlun mirror in his hand. Hong. The space trembled and huge metal and wood elemental magnets immediately fell into the air. The white and green elemental magnets immediately enveloped the surrounding space. The 5 elemental magnets and the spiritual energy of the 5 elements immediately underwent a huge change. Hurricanes crazily blew up and dark clouds rolled in the sky, giving birth to a strange phenomenon. What was even more special was that within the magnets, faint dragon patterns flowed. Roar. When they gathered together, a dragon was actually born and proudly roared towards the sky. Seeing such a vision, Kong Chang originally released the peacock celestial body, but just as the 5-colored divine light was released, he dejectedly put it away. He cried out in ecstasy, "Senior, quickly put it away. Junior doesn't have the strength to put away this metal and wood magnetism for the time being." "Oh, that's true." Seeing this, Xiao Hua felt guilty and hurriedly put away the metal and wood magnetism. He said embarrassedly, "I forgot, fellow Daoist has used too much 5-colored divine light before. How can you put it away now?" "Let's go, I will send this item to the Peacock Mountain Manor." "Thank you, Senior." Kong Chang was happy, and wanted to fly away, but Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, "Fellow Daoist, give me the location of the Peacock Mountain Manor in the map of the Yilin continent." "Oh." Kong Chang was puzzled, and he asked curiously, "Senior, if we teleport there, there will be a transmission array about 400,000 li ahead. How long will it take to use the transmission array?" Xiao Hua woke up, knowing that there were too many transmission arrays in the Yilin continent, and this aspect was urgent. "About 10 days. Kong Chang smiled and said, "During this time, there are still places where we need to teleport, not all of them are transmission arrays. You better give me the map." Xiao Hua stretched out his hand and said, "It's better for me to go there earlier." After Kong Chang took out the jade slip, and gave the location of the Peacock Mountain Manor to Xiao Hua, he asked puzzledly, "Senior, are you going to use the continent transmission bridge?" "No." Xiao Hua's divine sense entered the jade slip, looked at it, and answered casually. Suddenly, he thought of something and smiled, "Do you have records of the Yilin continent's common Dao techniques like the continent transmission bridge?" "Oh, yes, yes." Kong Chang woke up, and hurriedly took out a large pile of jade slips and handed them to Xiao Hua, saying, Junior has some here. When Senior arrives at the Peacock Mountain Manor, Junior will ask the disciples to send it to you. The Tao techniques of the Lost Land have all been lost. Junior will help Senior. Ha, great. Xiao Hua laughed loudly, and kept the jade slip. He raised his hand and drew a line in the air. Rip. A crack appeared in the air, and Xiao Hua waved his robe and said, I will bring you back to the Peacock Mountain Manor, but in the space tunnel, do not use your magic power. This is a space escape technique? Kong Cheng looked at the crack in the air, surprised and happy. There is really such a technique in this world? As Kong Cheng said this, Xiao Hua's figure flashed, and he brought Kong Cheng into the crack, disappearing. Yi Zhen had been waiting in the Heaven Wind Forbidden Zone for half a day, but he was not in a hurry at all. First, he urged his figure to fly closer, and looked at the eruption of the spatial storm with interest. Finally, he found a place to sit down cross-legged. When Xiao Hua flew over from afar, he smiled, stood up, and said loudly, Senior, have you arranged everything in the Peacock Mountain Manor? It has been arranged. Xiao Hua's expression did not change, but he felt a little embarrassed. Although his space escape technique was peerless, his sense of direction was probably unmatched. After getting close to the Peacock Mountain Manor with great difficulty, Elder Peacock suggested teleportation. Even after Xiao Hua sent the metal and wood elemental magnetism to the Peacock Mountain Manor and took away the essence blood, Elder Peacock insisted on sending Xiao Hua back to the Heaven Wind Forbidden Zone. Fortunately, before Xiao Hua left, he had left a divine sense mark near the Heaven Wind Forbidden Zone, so he did not need to use the space escape technique to return. He only needed to use the opposite direction technique, so Xiao Hua rejected Kong Cheng's offer to send him back, and easily rushed back to the Heaven Wind Forbidden Zone. That's good. Yi Zhen did not ask much, and said, then Junior can tell Senior some secrets in detail. Xiao Hua looked at Yi Zhen with a strange expression, and said, I was born in the Lost Land, and I really did not understand the inheritance of Taoism. It was not until I met you that I understood. Cultivation sects look very impressive, but in terms of foundation, I'm afraid you are not even worthy of carrying the shoes of immortal cultivation families. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, give it a tip, and Chapter 5003. Hee, Senior, you're wrong. Yi Zhen laughed, Senior, you've only seen one side of the Yilan continent. What about the other realms? The other cultivation realms? Generally speaking, immortal cultivation sects are still much stronger than immortal cultivation families. There are other realms? Xiao Hua asked, based on what your Yi clan knows, other than the 10,000 demon realm and the dark spirit realm, what other realms are there? What other cultivation realms are there? Senior, can you set up a barrier? Yi Zhen did not answer, but suggested, what I'm about to say involves the secrets of my Yi clan. Xiao Hua nodded and set up the barrier, saying, go ahead. I guarantee that no one on the Yilan continent can hear you. Senior, what other realms are there that I don't know? Yi Zhen answered honestly, these are all recorded in my Jiang clan's messages from the immortal realm. Immortal realm? Jiang clan? Xiao Hua was shocked. He finally realized what Yi Zhen had said earlier, the Yi clan is not the Yi clan that you're talking about. Yes, Senior. Yi Zhen said respectfully, my Yi clan's surname is not Yi, but Jiang. In order to avoid the eyes and ears of some families in the immortal realm, we changed our surname to Yi. Other families in the immortal realm? Xiao Hua felt even more strange and could not help but ask, Wen clan? Shen clan? Yi Zhen's body shook, as if he had been struck by lightning. He looked at Xiao Hua in disbelief and asked curiously, could it be that Senior has already met them? Xiao Hua smiled, isn't there a Purple Chin Immortal Alliance in the Tao Alliance? Isn't the Wen clan in the Water Cloud country there? Senior is wrong. Yijin shook his head. That Wen clan is different from the Wen clan that I'm talking about. I might as well explain it to you. The Wen clan in Water Cloud Country is actually the Mei clan. They're the same as my Jiang clan, not using their real names. They think that only they know, but what they don't know is that my Jiang clan already knew. Xiaohua nodded and said, I don't know the relationship between your Jiang clan, the Wen clan, and the Shin clan, but I won't hide it from you. I've only heard of these two names from other places, but I've never really met them. Phew. Yijin let out a long sigh of relief and said with a smile, Junior knew it. How could they dare to come to the secular world so brazenly? Even the Jiang clan and the Mei clan have changed their names. What the hell is going on? Xiaohua had already vaguely realized something, but he still frowned and asked. Yijin said with a smile, Senior, there are some things. It's better if this junior doesn't say it so thoroughly. Actually, I don't know much myself. I only know that the ancestral teachings of my Jiang family say that if you meet a tribulation transcendence or Dao integration cultivator who is benevolent and compassionate, you must invite him to visit Yan Hanshan after he ascends to the immortal world. Xiaohua pinched his chin and said, Old man Gu Qiong seems to meet your requirements. Does he know about Yan Hanshan? No. Yijin shook his head. He doesn't know. Although Senior thinks that fellow Daoist Gu Qiong meets the requirements, I don't think he's suitable. To tell you the truth, the name of this place has not been mentioned by the Jiang clan for nearly 400,000 years. When I saw the spiritual root selection method, I understood what you were thinking. I immediately thought of this matter, and I followed old man Gu Qiong to find you for this reason. Today, Senior even told me about the matters of the 3 continents. Junior feels that Junior must tell Senior about it. Whether you want to recruit me or rope me in, I don't want you to lose any opportunity. What kind of opportunity? Xiaohua asked thoughtfully. Yijin shrugged and shook his head. I don't know, but I think that since you are a rogue cultivator, you might as well find someone to rely on when you reach the immortal world. Of course, if you don't want to, just pretend that I didn't say anything. Well, I can think about it. Xiaohua said with a smile. From what happened today, it seems that it's better to gather firewood together. It's good that you can think about it. Yijin was very happy and said, Then I'll discuss another matter with you. Oh, there's another thing? Xiaohua felt strange, but he waved his hand and said, Before that, can you tell me what kind of families the Wen clan, Mei clan, and Shin clan are? How are they related to the Jiang clan? Yijin hesitated slightly and replied, Generally speaking, the Wen clan, Mei clan, and Shin clan are all families in the immortal world, just like the Jiang clan. It seems that they are in different celestial realms. However, I don't know which celestial realms they are in, because there has been no news from the immortal world for a long time. As for their relationship, it seems that they are not on good terms, but I don't dare to ask about the details. Seeing that Yijin seemed to have some unspeakable troubles, Xiaohua didn't force him. He already knew that the Wen clan and the Jiang clan didn't have a good relationship. If he encountered the Wen clan in the immortal world, he could go to the Jiang clan. Xiaohua didn't ask in vain for this benefit, so he smiled and said, In that case, I won't ask anymore. What else do you want to discuss with me? Yijin immediately relaxed and replied, This matter is a piece of cake for you, Senior. I would like to ask you to take care of the descendants of the Yi clan when you arrive at the lost place. Xiaohua was stunned and suddenly understood. He did not know whether to laugh or cry as he said, Damn it, I understand now. The Yi clan of the Dawn Rain continent. Could it be that the descendants of the Yi clan were sent to the lost place? Oh. Senior has seen the descendants of the Yi clan in the lost place? Yijin's heart tightened for no reason, and he said anxiously, They didn't offend you, right? They definitely offended you, Xiaohua replied with a smile. Damn it. Yijin cursed in a low voice and said, I don't dare to ask for your forgiveness, as long as you don't. At this point, Yijin did not know how to continue. Did he want to implicate himself? Don't implicate the other descendants of the Yi clan. Fellow Daoist Yi, don't worry about it. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, it's just that someone has a grudge against me, and one of my sworn brothers seems to be related to the Yi clan. So, fellow Daoist, don't worry, as long as the Yi clan doesn't do evil in the lost place, I won't interfere. Xiaohua paused for a moment and said, I will leave my orthodoxy in the lost place, and the name is the Fortune Gate. If fellow Daoist Yi can send me a message, I will explain everything. Xiaohua came to a realization and asked, fellow Daoist Yi, how did the descendants of the Yi clan pass through the Wuming mountain range? Could it be that you left it until the end? Looking at Xiaohua's expectant gaze, Yijin replied embarrassedly, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you, senior. My Yi clan did not pass through the Wuming mountain range's special technique, and we also used the transmission tunnel to pass through. However, senior should have seen that my Yi clan has the ability to maintain space, so we have more chances to reach the lost place. I understand. Xiaohua smiled and cupped his hands. I accept the Jiang clan's good intentions. Hearing Xiaohua mention the Jiang clan, Yijin's heart calmed down. He then took out a jade scepter-like token and handed it over to Xiaohua. He said, since Senior has ascended to the immortal world, Junior does not have any token to give you. However, when Senior returns to the lost place, Senior can take this token and command all the disciples of my Yi clan in the lost place. Xiaohua frowned slightly and did not take the jade scepter. He was clear that authority and responsibility were equal. Since he had the authority to command the disciples of the Yi clan, he naturally had to bear some responsibility. The fortune gate in his hands was 100 times more powerful than the Yi clan. Why would he find trouble for himself for no reason? Senior. Yijin seemed to have seen through Xiaohua's thoughts and said with a smile, this token can not only command all the disciples of the Yi clan in the lost place, it can also prove Senior's identity. Without this token, Junior would not be able to send a message to them. Wouldn't Senior have to waste his breath to explain? Moreover, with this token, Senior can punish my Yi clan's traitors. Wouldn't it be reasonable and reasonable? You have a good plan. Xiaohua accepted the token with a smile and said, since this Xiao has received benefits from you, I will be a Yi clan elder. Many thanks Senior, many thanks Senior. Yizhen was overjoyed when he saw Xiaohua accept the token. He bowed and said, Senior's action has solved my Yi clan's many years of troubles. The Yi clan in the lost place has been separated from my Yi clan for a long time. This Junior does not know how they are doing in the lost place. If they forget the ancestral teachings and harm the lost place, then my Yi clan will have committed a great sin. Ha, Xiaohua laughed heartily, don't worry, if they harm the lost place, not to mention this Xiao has your Yi clan's token, even if this Xiao does not, this Xiao will still punish them. Then I will have to trouble Senior. Yijin took out a jade slip and handed it to Xiaohua. He said, this is the information my Yi clan obtained about the transmission tunnel in the Wuming mountain range. However, it is too old, so I don't know if it can be used now. Xiaohua took the jade slip and looked at it before replying, it's already good enough that you have it. If this Xiao had not tactfully agreed, I'm afraid this jade slip would not even exist. Hee, Senior, you think too much. Yijin smiled and said, this Junior has already prepared this long ago. I will definitely give it to Senior. Good. Xiaohua kept the jade slip and looked at the interface storm that had calmed down. He asked, is there anything else, fellow Daoist Yi? No. Yijin bowed and said, this Junior also wishes Senior to successfully pass through the Wuming mountain range, break the immortal array, and save the billions of lives in the 3 continents. By the way, your Yi clan doesn't have any records of the immortal array? Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat, and he asked again. Vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, donate it, and... Chapter 5004. Unfortunately, Yijin still shook his head and said embarrassedly, Junior really doesn't know. However, since Senior mentioned this matter, Junior will go back and look for it. Alright, then I'll have to trouble fellow Daoist. Xiaohua returned the greeting and opened the barrier. Junior will take his leave. Yijin took his leave. After Yijin flew far away, Xiaohua looked at the jade scepter in his hand, shook his head slightly, and put it into the space. Then, he released his divine sense to check the surroundings. His figure flickered and landed in the direction of the forbidden land of Heaven Wind. After flying for a while, he waved his hands again, and a void crack appeared. His figure disappeared into it. Xiaohua had left a divine sense mark at the maze array used by the failure Immortal Union, so it was easy for him to return to the maze array. However, when Xiaohua returned to the bewildering array, he was a little surprised, because the bewildering array wasn't as strict as it was before. Instead, many places had collapsed, and the leaking spatial storms had already destroyed the remnants of the bewildering array. It was a complete mess. Several Fortune Gate disciples were sitting cross-legged in the ruins, meditating. Xiaohua's appearance did not attract their attention. Xiaohua landed in midair and released his divine sense. The moment he released his divine sense, the disciples were jolted awake. When they saw Xiaohua, they hastily stood up and saluted, not daring to speak. Xiaohua looked at them and understood. When Long Shensi had just fallen into the devil path, his dragon blood avatar had already attracted his attention. Later on, Long Shensi's descent had deepened, and the spatial turbulence had also reached the heavens. Not to mention, the spatial turbulence had been suppressed several times and erupted several times. The entire heavenly wind forbidden land was affected by the spatial turbulence. Since the maze array was inside the forbidden land, it was normal for it to be destroyed by the spatial turbulence. What happened? Xiaohua asked. One of the older Fortune Gate disciples told him what had happened, and it was similar to what Xiaohua had thought. Xiaohua frowned and asked, How are the casualties among the cultivators who came in? The casualties are quite heavy. Disciples have saved a lot of people, but the spatial turbulence was too strong. Disciples can't even take care of themselves. Several disciples whispered, afraid that Xiaohua would blame them. Xiaohua nodded and said, You all did well. My Fortune Gate's teachings were not in vain. Remember, helping others is necessary, but protecting yourself is more important. Don't risk your life for others, if you can avoid it. Yes, we understand. The Fortune Gate disciples breathed a sigh of relief. Two of them reached into their sleeves and took out 2 tranquil wind wheels, respectfully handing them to Xiaohua. Disciples are incompetent, we could only take 2. Huh, I only need 1. Xiaohua laughed heartily. He took the netherwind wheels and examined them carefully. He saw that they were 2 damaged magical artifacts. They looked like wheels, and inside, there were 5 axles of different colors intertwined. The outer layer of the wheels was a ring made of flocculating material, and there were also damaged runes on it. Because the rune was already broken, some magic power fluctuations seeped out. These fluctuations fell into the air and gave rise to gusts of cool wind. After Xiaohua finished looking at them, he put the 2 tranquil wind wheels into a universe ring. He took out 2 rejuvenation pills and gave them to the 2 disciples. Then, he took out some immortal peaches and spiritual wine, giving each disciple a portion. Only then did he send the Fortune Gate disciples into the Shenhua continent. He left the maze formation and released his Buddhist sense to take a look. Then, he concealed himself and flew towards the entrance of the maze formation. At the entrance of the maze formation, Bai Fei was standing there, calm and unruffled. He smiled as he looked at the undulating hills on the ground and the barren rocks near the hills. His aura was firm and steady. Even the thousands of hurricanes wreaking havoc could not tear apart his confident gaze. Unlike Bai Fei's calmness, there were many bloody auras in the tornadoes from time to time. Occasionally, there were some nascent soul realm cultivators with bloodstains all over their bodies. They either looked nervous and panicked, or they carefully passed by with smiles on their faces. However, every time their gazes fell on Bai Fei, there was a trace of envy in their eyes. Swoosh! Within the tornadoes, a figure suddenly rushed out from the hills. Bai Fei looked over and saw that it was Zhuang Chen. At this time, Zhuang Chen's clothes were a little tattered, and there was an ancient green luster in the damaged areas. Zhuang Chen looked a little nervous, but when he saw Bai Fei standing there, his nervousness disappeared. He hurriedly asked, "Fellow Taoist Bai, how many days are left until the end of the selection?" Fellow Taoist Zhuang, don't be anxious. It's only been about 20 days. There's still a long time before the selection ends. Bai Fei said with a smile. He then asked, "Did fellow Taoist Zhuang find anything?" Of course. Zhuang Chen's face was still simple and honest, and he answered without hiding anything, "If I couldn't find anything, how could I come out so late?" "What about fellow Taoist Bai?" At this point, Zhuang Chen came to his senses and hurriedly said with a smile, I said too much. If I can get it, you can naturally get it too. Fellow Taoist Zhuang, you're a little talkative today. Bai Fei said meaningfully. Zhuang Chen was stunned and grinned. Of course I'm happy that I can pass the selection. After saying that, he continued to talk. As he wondered if he had done something wrong and was discovered by Bai Fei, he moved his body and stood beside Bai Fei. Fellow Taoist Zhuang. Bai Fei waited for a while and saw that no one else came out. He asked, "How many dark wind wheels did you get?" "How many?" Zhuang Chen was stunned and asked curiously, "One?" "What's wrong?" "Nothing." When Bai Fei heard that, he changed his eager gaze to indifference and moved away from Zhuang Chen. After more than 2 hours, there was a loud buzz and a green light rushed out from the hill not far away. The sound of the light was not soft, but the light was a little dim. Beauty Yu staggered out of the light. She did not even look and was about to fly into the distance. Fellow Taoist. Bai Fei saw this and hurriedly shouted, "I'm waiting here." "Oh." Beauty Yu was obviously a little surprised. She turned to look at Bai Fei and then at Zhuang Chen. She was a little hesitant, as if she was hesitating whether to come over or not. "Fairy Yu." Zhuang Chen also shouted, "Come over quickly, we're waiting for you." Bai Fei naturally understood Beauty Yu's thoughts and said with a smile, "Fairy, don't worry. We've all gotten the dark wind wheels, so we won't snatch them from you." Phew. Beauty Yu heaved a sigh of relief and flew over. However, she stopped when she was near and said with a smile, "Fellow Taoist Bai, fellow Taoist Zhuang, can you let me see your dark wind wheels?" "Of course." Bai Fei raised his hand and took out a dark wind wheel from the cosmic bracelet and said, "Fairy, can you rest assured now?" Zhuang Chen also hurriedly took it out. Seeing this, Beauty Yu finally flew over and said with a bitter smile, "Fellow Taoists, please don't blame me. I managed to get a dark wind wheel in the maze and happened to encounter the collapse of the maze. When I came out of the ruins, I met 2 people. Nascent soul cultivators. They wanted to kill me without saying anything. I had no choice but to flee in panic. Fortunately, the maze collapsed and the storm became stronger. I didn't care about my life anymore and fled into the depths of the maze. Only then did I manage to get rid of the 2 of them. Damn it." Bai Fei narrowed his eyes and cursed in a low voice, "Fairy, do you still remember their appearance?" "Of course." Although Beauty Yu's appearance was covered by a silk scarf, her tone was obviously surprised. She replied, "How can I forget these 2 damn things?" "All right." Bai Fei said, "After fellow Taoist Yuankong comes out, we'll work together to deal with them." "Taoist Yuankong?" Beauty Yu sneered and looked at Zhuang Chen who was not far away. She said, "Why don't you ask fellow Taoist Zhuang what Taoist Yuankong did first? What's wrong with fellow Taoist Yuankong?" Bai Fei turned his head and asked Zhuang Chen. "Nothing." Zhuang Chen said curiously, "After we separated from fellow Taoist Bai, we found a few more forks. However, when there was only one cave entrance, 3 more nascent soul cultivators came. They insisted that they found this cave entrance first. Taoist Yuankong argued for a while and then took us to find another fork. He gave the cave entrance to the 3 of them for free. Beauty Yu sneered. He even said that it was for our own good, Zhuangqin said straightforwardly. Among the 3 nascent soul cultivators, 2 of them were middle-stage nascent soul, all right. Beauty Yu curled her lips and looked at Zhuangqin. Then, she said, let's forget about this matter. What happened next? What about before the maze collapsed? When we met the 2 forks that he was hesitant about, I told him clearly. Why didn't he listen? He even spoke ill of me. Zhuangqin said with a smile. Fellow Taoist Yuankong had already used a secret technique and knew that there was movement in that fork. Fairy, you insisted on going to the other one. You can't blame fellow Taoist Yuankong, right? Humph. Beauty Yu sneered and said, I got the netherwind wheel in that fork. What about you guys? Zhuangqin was still honest and answered, there was nothing in that fork and we met 2 forks. Fellow Taoist Yuankong couldn't choose, so we separated. You got the netherwind wheel. What about him? He definitely won't be able to get it. Beauty Yu said disdainfully, his luck is bad, but he still wants to fight for fame and fortune. It's just a selection, and he still wants to be the leader. This kind of person, without waiting for Beauty Yu to finish speaking, Bai Fei suddenly raised his eyebrows and looked in a direction. He asked curiously, Why did Taoist Shao come out from there? When Beauty Yu heard this, she hurriedly shut her mouth and looked in the direction of the hurricane. Sure enough, Xiao Hua looked back 3 times with every step. He looked left and right as if he was lost and flew from afar. It seemed that he didn't notice them. Humph, this Taoist Shao is also a strange thing. Beauty Yu sneered and muttered in her heart, he doesn't even know the direction, but he actually wants to go to the lost land. What's wrong with me this time? I keep encountering strange humans. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, save it, reward it, thank you for all forms of support. Chapter 5005. Thinking about this, Beauty Yu looked at Zhuangqin again. She had already discovered that Zhuangqin was a little strange, but she had not discovered why. In short, Beauty Yu felt that whether it was Taoist Master Yuankong, Zhuangqin, Bai Fei, or Xiao Hua, they were all very strange. They were different from the ordinary human cultivators she had seen. Taoist Master Xiao. Bai Fei called out with a smile, I'm waiting here. I-oh. Hearing this, Xiao Hua hurriedly looked over. After flying for a while, he saw Bai Fei and the others. He let out a long sigh and said, I finally found you. Hee hee. Bai Fei looked at Xiao Hua's neat Taoist robe and said with a smile, so Taoist Master Xiao is a hidden great expert. We were all in a sorry state and were almost buried underground by the collapse of the maze. Taoist Master Xiao, you didn't even lose a single hair. What? The maze collapsed. Hearing this, Xiao Hua was shocked. He looked at Bai Fei and the others in disbelief, then looked down at the ground in the fierce wind and asked curiously, Why didn't I know? How is that possible? Beauty Yu was curious about Xiao Hua to begin with. At this moment, she was even more puzzled and asked, we were almost trapped by the collapse of the maze. How could you not know? Xiao Hua smiled bitterly and said, I indeed didn't know that the maze collapsed. Because after I parted with Taoist Bai, I entered another fork in the road. There were many forks in the road, and not long after, I got lost. Even if I wanted to go back to find Taoist Bai, I couldn't. I might as well fly around randomly. Oh, I remember. There was a period of time when the entire maze was shaking and the ground was shaking. Maybe the maze collapsed. Ai's maze looked very complete and sturdy. It didn't collapse. Did you get the dark wind wheel? Bai Fei frowned slightly. He released the gold-devouring beetles to follow behind Xiao Hua, so he naturally knew that Xiao Hua's words were true. However, he was too lazy to listen to Xiao Hua's explanation and asked. I got it. Xiao Hua nodded and said, that place looked very quiet, as if no one went there, so I got it very easily. Bai Fei's eyes lit up, and he said with a smile, fellow Taoist Xiao is really lucky. When we encountered the collapse of the ground and the collapse of the bewildering formation, we all ran for our lives to escape. You, on the other hand, are looking around leisurely like you're taking a stroll in a courtyard. I wonder how many you found. 2. Xiao Hua didn't hide anything and said, no matter what, this Xiao went in with fellow Taoist Bai. If fellow Taoist Bai's luck isn't good, then this dark wind will can be given to fellow Taoist Bai, flatterer. Beauty you couldn't help but snort coldly and say, you're still a headless flatterer. Fellow Taoist Bai has already obtained it. Hee. Bai Fei smiled and said, Spiritual Master Xiao, this Bai wants the other Feng Yuluan. What benefits do you want? Xiao Hua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He really didn't know why Bai Fei kept talking about benefits every day. He was about to speak. So. Below them, a sword light shot out. This sword light looked extremely weak, and as soon as it entered the storm, it was blown to smithereens. Then, Taoist Yuankong's extremely wretched figure charged out from the sword light. Spiritual Master Yuankong's robe was torn, and there was no need to talk about his body's protective light being scattered. There was also no need to talk about his exposed arm being badly mutilated. Just by looking at the large amount of dust on his head that he didn't have time to clean up, one could see how much danger he encountered in the bewildering formation. Senior Yuankong. Zhuangchen saw Spiritual Master Yuankong and was especially affectionate. He hurriedly called out, we're here. Oh. Spiritual Master Yuankong saw that Bai Fei and the others were standing in the air safe and sound. He was clearly surprised. He hurriedly circulated his magic power, and light flashed around his body as he cleaned up the dust. He took another pill and adjusted his breathing before flying over with a smile on his face. Not bad, you all actually came out of the bewildering formation safely. This old man is very happy. AI, that's right. Bai Fei went over and sighed, the heavenly Tao is unpredictable. I originally thought that this was the edge of the heaven wind forbidden area and that there wouldn't be too big of a change. Who would have thought that we would still encounter danger? To be able to come back safely is already very lucky. Spiritual Master Yuankong nodded in agreement. He looked around and asked, how many days until the selection ends? Bai Fei said, if this Bai remembers correctly, there should still be 7 days. 7 days. Spiritual Master Yuankong nodded thoughtfully and said, that's good, we still have a chance. The bewildering formation here has already collapsed, so we can enter from another place. Don't worry, this old man will definitely help you all obtain the Netherwind Wheel. Spiritual Master Yuankong waved his hand and said, come, follow this old man. Spiritual Master Yuankong flew for a few breaths and didn't see Bai Fei and the others following him. He couldn't help but stop and call out, it's just a bewildering formation collapsing, and you're already scared out of your wits? This. Zhuangchen hesitated. Seeing that the others didn't speak, he could only say himself, Senior, we have already obtained the Netherwind Wheel. How? Spiritual Master Yuankong was surprised and a faint blush appeared on his wrinkled face. Beauty, you said faintly, we have already obtained it. Spiritual Master Xiao even picked up too. Haha, very good, very good. Spiritual Master Yuankong heard this and laughed in jealousy. He flew in front of Xiao Hua and said, Spiritual Master Xiao, is your extra Netherwind Wheel useful? If it's useless, this old man will exchange it with the storage ring of the Immortal Alliance. As he spoke, Taoist Yuankong placed the storage ring in front of Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua looked at the storage ring and then looked at spiritual master Yuan Kong's eager gaze and the wrinkles on his face. He felt sympathy in his heart. He wanted to give the Netherwind wheel to spiritual master Yuan Kong and fulfill his wish. However, he also understood that with Bai Fei, Beauty Yu, and Zhuang Chen following him to the Lost Land, this nascent soul human cultivator would definitely be played to death by the three of them. Moreover, even old man Gu Qiong didn't dare to rashly try to pass through the teleportation tunnel through the Wuming mountain range. Xiao Hua really couldn't understand why this nascent soul cultivator wanted to die. If he gave the Netherwind will to him, wouldn't it be the same as letting him die? Spiritual Master Yuan Kong. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua said resolutely, "The Lost Land sounds like a paradise, but in reality, don't you think it's not worth it for us to take such a risk? In the Yi-Lin continent, there are cultivation methods and medicinal pills. You can have whatever you want. Why must we go to the Lost Land? Moreover, I heard that passing through the teleportation tunnel is extremely dangerous. Obtaining the Netherwind will only means that we have the ability to pass through the teleportation tunnel. It doesn't mean that we can definitely pass through safely. Since fellow Daoist can't obtain the Netherwind wheel, it means that you have no fate with the Lost Land. Frankly speaking, fellow Daoist doesn't have the ability to pass through the teleportation tunnel. I gave you the Netherwind wheel. Although you have obtained the right to choose, in reality, won't you be giving fellow Daoists life in vain?" Honest words were always unpleasant to the ear. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to finish, spiritual master Yuan Kong's face turned red and he roared, "Damn it! If you think this storage ring is too little, just say it directly. You are greedy and yet you say this old man is useless. You middle-stage nascent soul cultivators can pass through the teleportation tunnel. This old man is already close to late-stage nascent soul. How can this old man not pass through? You're really angering this old man to death." Zhuang Chen lowered his head honestly and didn't say anything. Beauty Yu's face hidden under the silk scarf sneered and didn't say anything. Xiao Hua looked on indifferently. The sympathy in his heart gradually disappeared. In this world, there were always some people who felt that they were omnipotent and omniscient. However, these people were just pitiful worms who thought they were extraordinary. Perhaps pitiful people must have something hateful? Say it. What price do you want to give this Netherwind wheel to this old man? After spiritual master Yuan Kong roared, he gnashed his teeth and looked at Xiao Hua with a somewhat sinister expression. Xiao Hua shook his head slightly and didn't answer. Hee, senior. Bai Fei hurriedly flew over and said with a smile, "Senior, don't be angry. Senior, don't take fellow Daoist Zhao's words to heart. With your strength, wouldn't it be easy for you to obtain the Netherwind wheel from the bewildering array? Back then, wasn't it because of Senior's secret technique that we found the entrance to the bewildering array?" Humph. Spiritual master Yuan Kong snorted coldly and shifted his somewhat resentful gaze away from Xiao Hua. He looked at Bai Fei and said, "How can this old man lower himself to his level? That is, if you wait at the side, if you wait at the side." Bai Fei hurriedly stopped spiritual master Yuan Kong's malicious words and said in a low voice, "Actually, this Bai will also tell fellow Daoist the truth. This Bai didn't obtain the Netherwind wheel. Just now, this Bai already told spiritual master Xiao about this matter. He was too embarrassed to reveal this Bai's matter." "Oh, so that's how it is." Spiritual master Yuan Kong believed him and the anger on his face subsided. However, he still said, "Even so, this guy shouldn't speak to this old man like that. Who does he think he is?" Yes, this Bai apologizes to Senior on his behalf." Bai Fei said with a smile, "Senior is magnanimous. Please don't lower yourself to our level." "Oh, of course, if Senior doesn't want to go into the bewildering array again, this Bai will immediately give the Netherwind wheel to Senior after obtaining it. However..." At this point, Bai Fei lowered his head to look at the trembling of the storm and bitterly smiled. This Bai has already been scared out of his wits by the collapse of the bewildering array. I'm afraid that only an expert with such profound cultivation like Senior would have the guts to enter the tiger's den again, right? Isn't it just a bewildering array? Since this old man can come out, naturally I can go in again. Spiritual Master Yuan Kong was emboldened by Bai Fei's words. He proudly said, "You all wait here for a while. This old man will be back soon." But Bai Fei hurriedly said, "Senior, we all have injuries on our bodies. It's hard for us to stay in this hurricane for long. Senior, please see if we can leave first. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a monthly vote, vote for a recommendation vote, bookmark, gift, and thank all forms of support." Chapter 5006. Return to the Special Envoy's flying ship for now. Spiritual Master Yuan Kong's face was full of disdain, and even had a reprimanding tone as he said, "If you can't even withstand this kind of storm, when you reach the Lost Land, you won't be able to accomplish anything." "Hee, how can we accomplish anything?" Bai Fei smiled and said, "Don't we still have to follow Senior's command to have some gains? It's good that you understand." Spiritual Master Yuan Kong said, and sword light surged around him as he flew into the distance. Xiao Hua opened his mouth, but closed it again. At this time, most of the maze had already collapsed, and there were no more entrances. With Spiritual Master Yuan Kong's cultivation, he probably couldn't even find the entrance. If he hit a wall, he would leave without any face. Spiritual Master Xiao. Bai Fei turned and said, "Actually, you don't have to say these words to Yuan Kong. You just have to say what you just said." Bai Fei didn't transmit his words, and Xiao Hua, Zhuang Chen, and Beauty Yu all heard it. Xiao Hua naturally understood what he was saying, and he smiled and said, "I don't want to lie to him. Fellow Taoist is ignorant." Bai Fei smiled and said, "Lying to him is saving him. Unfortunately, he doesn't understand. Here." Xiao Hua threw a wind underworld wheel to Bai Fei and asked curiously, "Could it be that you really didn't get the wind underworld wheel? What do you think?" Bai Fei took the wind underworld wheel, shrugged, and said to Xiao Hua and the rest, "Let's go, there's no need to wait for Yuan Kong. He won't return to the Special Envoy's flying ship." "No way." Zhuang Chen panicked and shouted, "Fellow Taoist, Yuan Kong won't die in the maze, right? The maze has already collapsed, where can he find the wind underworld wheel?" Beauty Yu whispered, "He didn't even get the wind underworld wheel as an old senior, how can he have the face to come back? Besides, if he didn't get the wind underworld wheel, he didn't pass the selection. Why would he return to the Special Envoy's flying ship?" "Oh, I understand." Zhuang Chen scratched his head, and Xiao Hua looked at a demon so pretentious, Xiao Hua really despised him. Bai Fei brought Xiao Hua and the others back to the envoy's flying ship. They saw the huge envoy's flying ship standing tall in the violent hurricane. However, the light protecting the flying ship was distorted by the hurricane. It was like the clothes placed on a drying pole in the secular world being blown up high. At this time, the disciples of the Immortal Alliance who were patrolling around the envoy's flying boat had already hidden outside the defensive light shield. No one was flying around anymore. Seeing that the Special Envoy's flying ship was approaching, Bai Fei stopped and said with a smile, "You all go ahead first. This Bai still has some personal matters to attend to and will return immediately." "All right." When Xiao Hua and the others heard this, how could they not know that Bai Fei's matter was related to the extra wind underworld wheel? They glanced at each other and flew towards the Special Envoy's flying ship. Seeing that someone was flying back, the Special Envoy's flying ship's defensive brilliance opened, and several disciples revealed themselves. After inspecting Xiao Hua and the others, Feng Yoluan let them in. Seeing Xiao Hua and the others enter the Special Envoy's flying ship, Bai Fei's figure flashed and flew to the tail of the Special Envoy's flying ship. When the distance was suitable, he took out a thumb-sized jade bracelet from his arms. Under the urging of his spiritual power, the bracelet rushed into the hurricane and fell into the special envoy's flying ship's defensive light shield and disappeared. After about a meal's worth of cultivation, Yi Yun held a protective magic weapon and carefully flew out. When she saw Bai Fei standing there, her eyes were filled with tenderness. She hurriedly looked back as if she was afraid of being discovered. "Senior." Yi Yun flew closer and asked in a low voice, Why did you call this junior over?" "Nothing." Bai Fei smiled and said, "It's just that I haven't seen you for a few days and wanted to see you." "Senior." Yi Yun's face was red with embarrassment. She lowered her head and said, "It's already the end of the selection. Why did Senior not go to the maze to look for the Wind Underworld wheel and only think of this junior?" However, this junior heard that there was a huge change in the maze and many cultivators died in it. Seeing Senior standing here safely today, this junior's heart can be at ease. "Yun, Bai Fei suddenly approached and called out in a low voice. Yi Yun was obviously caught off guard. She was shocked and hurriedly retreated. However, she only retreated a few feet before stopping. She flew forward 2 feet and lowered her head. Her neck was obviously red. There's no need for this Bai to talk about this Bai's background. This Bai will definitely go to the lost place. Bai Fei did not fly any closer, only leaning slightly against Yi Yun as he spoke in a low voice. However, on this Yilin mainland, there are people and matters that this Bai misses, so this Bai cannot leave in peace. Therefore, this Bai has called you out today to give this item to you. Yi Yun's voice was as soft as a mosquito. Although she did not dare to raise her head, she still replied. "This tranquil wind wheel is something that this Bai obtained in the maze, and risked my life to obtain another one." Bai Fei handed the tranquil wind wheel to Yi Yun and said, "This Bai is giving it to you, I hope you have a choice. Of course, this Bai will be happy no matter what you choose. Remember what this Bai said in the Wu Meng Mountains. As long as you are safe, I will be at ease." Fei. Yi Yun looked at the Wind Underworld wheel and could not help but whisper, "You." Bai Fei placed the Wind Underworld wheel in Yi Yun's hand and hooked a finger on her palm. He said considerately, "You don't have to answer now. Think about it. Treat this Wind Underworld wheel as a memento of our meeting in this life." Yi Yun wanted to say something but Bai Fei shook his head and urged, "Hurry up and go back. If you stay too long, someone will find out." "Okay." Yi Yun hurriedly put away the Wind Underworld wheel and bit her lips. Looking at Bai Fei's handsome face, she nodded and hurriedly left. Seeing that Yi Yun had entered the special envoy's flying boat, Bai Fei suddenly glanced in a certain direction and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. His figure flashed and landed on the other side of the special envoy's flying boat. He checked Feng Yuluen and entered the flying boat. After a while, Jiyu flew out of the place Bai Fei looked at with a puzzled expression. Xiao Hua, Zhuang Chen, and Beauty Yu flew back to the special envoy's flying ship. The disciple on guard inspected the Wind Underworld wheel and returned it to them. He also took out more than 10 storage rings and gave 5 to each of them. Zhuang Chen took the rings and scanned them with his divine sense. He immediately exclaimed, Why are there so many?" The disciple on guard's eyes also flashed with admiration and said with jealousy, "Senior and the others are really lucky." Originally, the special envoy was prepared to reward each senior with 2 rings after they succeeded. But later, the heavenly wind forbidden area changed and a rare storm appeared in the center. This storm blew the special envoy's flying ship over. Later, I heard that the maze collapsed and many seniors died inside. So, the special envoy ordered that those who can return will be rewarded with 5 storage rings. Moreover, after 30 days, the remaining storage rings will be equally distributed to the seniors who passed the selection. So that's how it is. We're rich. Zhuang Chen grinned and carefully put away the storage rings. Seniors, please follow this junior. The flying ship has prepared a quiet room for seniors. Seniors, please meditate inside. The disciple said respectfully, seniors must be tired, so this junior won't disturb you. When the selection time is up, the flying ship will fly back to the Defeat You Immortal Union on time. Moreover, the special envoy also said that if there are no other accidents, the flying ship will not stay in the Immortal Union and will directly fly to the Wuming Mountain Range. In addition, there is a secret technique to refine the Wind Underworld wheel in the storage rings. Seniors, please complete the refining of the Wind Underworld wheel during this period. The 3 disciples said and led the 3 people into the cabin. After opening the 3 quiet rooms, they bowed and saluted. Beauty, you did not stay. She ignored the 2 and entered the quiet room alone. In a moment, restrictions appeared around the quiet room. Zhuangchen walked 2 steps and felt that it was inappropriate. He stopped and turned to ask, Daoist Xiao, do you think Daoist Yuankong will be in danger? What do you think? Xiao Hua looked indifferently at this devil and asked. Zhuangchen suddenly saw a trace of disdain in Xiao Hua's eyes. He panicked in his heart, knowing that he had painted a snake with legs, and said with a smile, the old man is actually very good, I hope he can come back safely. Returning is better than leaving. Xiao Hua looked over and said, if he comes back, won't he be played to death by you guys? Daoist Xiao is joking. Zhuangchen smiled and quickly entered the quiet room. Xiao Hua looked at the 2 quiet rooms created by restrictions and was too lazy to pry. He just stood quietly in front of his quiet room. Sure enough, after a while, Bai Fei also came over under the lead of a disciple. After that disciple saluted and left, Bai Fei looked at Xiao Hua with a smile and said, I knew that you would be waiting for me here. Have you decided to bring her? Xiao Hua said straightforwardly. Yes. Bai Fei naturally knew who Xiao Hua was talking about and nodded. Xiao Hua shook his head slightly and said, I don't think this is appropriate. First, her cultivation is not enough and she may not be able to pass through Wuming Mountain Range. Second, if you bring her, that person will definitely stop you. In this way, you and I may not be able to go. Bai Fei said disapprovingly, since Liu Immortal Alliance allows Jindan's stage disciples to go, then she will definitely have a chance. Moreover, you can rest assured that there are not many cultivators who pass the selection this time. Liu Immortal Alliance will definitely send more disciples to go with us. If others can go, she can naturally go too. As for that person, you can rest assured. Since that person said that he will let go, then he will not interfere. This is her choice. Even if that person stops her, she will definitely go back. The matter between you and me cannot be delayed. All right. I hope your guess is not wrong. Xiao Hua sighed and compromised. I do not want to face a late nascent soul stage cultivator again. It is only late nascent soul stage, there is nothing to be afraid of. Bai Fei said and was about to turn around. Xiao Hua suddenly called out to Bai Fei with a smile, fellow Taoist Bai, are you going to leave now? P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a month, vote for a recommendation, collect, reward, thank you for all forms of support. Chapter 5007. Bai Fei was stunned and immediately understood. He smiled and took out 2 storage rings from his bosom and handed them to Xiao Hua. He said, I didn't talk about any deal with you before, but since Yuan Kong gave you a storage ring as the price, I can't treat you unfairly. Hee, thank you. Xiao Hua smiled as he received the storage ring and said, that netherwind wheel was merely picked up. This poor Taoist thought that fellow Taoist giving me 1 storage ring was already good enough. Since you insist on giving me 2, then this poor Taoist will be disrespectful. After Xiao Hua finished speaking, he floated into the quiet room and activated the restriction of the room. With a smile on his face, Bai Fei shook his head slightly and then entered the quiet room. However, when he activated the restriction of the quiet room, the expression on his face changed instantly. He paced around the quiet room a few times and whispered, Xiao Yu, this Taoist Xiao is getting more and more strange. What do you think? Master. Xiao Yu's voice sounded faintly. You should be worried about that beauty Yu and Zhuang Chen, not this real human. Oh. Why, have you changed your opinion? Bai Fei stopped and asked, do you think Taoist Xiao is a real human? Yes. Xiao Yu replied, compared to beauty Yu's aura, I feel that Taoist Xiao is a human who has cultivated the demon race's cultivation method. Hehe, beauty Yu, interesting. Why does a demon race want to go to the Lost Land? Bai Fei rubbed his chin and asked in confusion. I don't know why she wants to go to the Lost Land, but I know that if Master doesn't deal with it carefully, he might fall into her trap. Little Master reminded, as for Taoist Xiao, Master has already made a decision, but he doesn't believe in his good luck. That's true. Bai Fei smiled and said, this guy is really bad at directions. He ran around in the maze without any order at all. My primordial spirit followed him and was about to get lost, so I had to call back the gold-devouring beetles. It's precisely this kind of person, fools have fools' luck. He got 2 transcendent wind wheels without any effort. It's meaningless for him to get 2 wind wheels. Xiao Yu complimented, it's just a big gift for Master. In the end, this luck still belongs to Master. Hehe, I was just worrying about how to express my feelings to Yi Yun, and now he's offering the Netherwind wheel. I wondered if he's lucky, or if I'm lucky. Bai Fei smiled proudly. However, he stopped after a while and asked, oh right, you said that Zhuang Chen might be a demon. How did you find out? Reporting to Master. Xiaoye replied, this Zhuang Chen's strength is very strong. Master is about the same as him. With my strength, I wouldn't be able to tell. However, when he escaped from the maze just now, he left behind a trace of the demon clan's aura. That was how I discovered it. Damn it. Bai Fei cursed in a low voice. A devil. What's he going to Daybreak Continent for? The Heavenly Devils sect has already turned the entire continent upside down. Wouldn't it be even more troublesome if a late nascent soul stage devil clan cultivator was added to the mix? Perhaps this demon is looking for the Heavenly Demon sect that Master mentioned? Xiaoye speculated. Hehe, that's even better. Bai Fei rolled his eyes and said, let this demon find trouble with the Heavenly Demon sect. I'll just sit back and reap the benefits. Xiaoye suddenly said, but what if this demon is in cahoots with the Heavenly Demon sect? If that's the case, our Taoist Master Xiao will be useful. Bai Fei replied. Master's plan is flawless. Victory is in your grasp. I admire you. Xiaoye's voice sounded like she was truly convinced. The spiritual herbs in this world should have matured by now, right? Bai Fei suddenly asked again. Yes, Master. Xiaoye replied excitedly. Although there's no spiritual qi in this world, Master's spiritual liquid is too magical. That flying cloud fruit is at least 10,000 years old. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I definitely wouldn't have believed it. That's nothing. Bai Fei smiled slightly. Pick that flying cloud fruit. I'm going to refine the void cloud pill. Void cloud pill? Xiaoye was stunned and asked curiously, what void cloud pill is Master refining now? We're about to head to Wuming Mountain Range. At this point, Xiaoye suddenly understood something and said, so Master is doing this for Yi, don't you think you're talking too much? Bai Fei said coldly. However, there was no change in his expression. Yes, I deserve to die, I deserve to die. Xiaoye's voice became lower and lower. Do your own thing. Don't talk too much. Bai Fei scolded. No one will think you're a fool if you don't talk. For a moment, the quiet room was as silent as night. After a while, Bai Fei raised his hand and took out a fist-sized elixir furnace from his storage ring. He opened his mouth and a cluster of true samadhi fire rushed out. Then, Bai Fei rubbed his hands and was about to start refining the elixir furnace. However, he changed his mind and pointed at the spirit storage ring. Several gold-devouring beetles flew out. Bai Fei chanted a mantra and attached a few strands of his primordial spirit to the gold-devouring beetles. Several gold-devouring beetles flapped their wings and rushed to the quiet room. Bai Fei activated his celestial artifact and released the gold-devouring beetles. When the gold-devouring beetles invaded the quiet room, Xiao Hua was sitting cross-legged and cultivating. His eyelids twitched and he ignored them. After obtaining the water origin, he had obtained too many ultimacies and had no time to comprehend them. He wanted to cultivate in seclusion immediately, but he had to send old man Gu Qiong and the others away. On the contrary, the Thunderbolt Immortal, the heavenly being, and the other doppelgangers, including the demon Lord Shi, were slacking off and carefully comprehending the water origin ultimacy. They ignored Xiao Hua and were cultivating. Since Xiao Hua had returned to the quiet room, why would he care so much? His mind had already entered the starry sky of the heavenly Tao. Together with the heavenly Tao Xiao Hua, he comprehended the ultimacy of heaven and earth bit by bit. When the 6 origins fell into the starry sky of the heavenly Tao, they all revealed their ultimacies. Just those ultimacies alone were enough for Xiao Hua to comprehend. Now that the water origin had entered the starry sky, it could be said that the 5 elemental origins had reached perfection. All kinds of ultimacies were revealed in front of Xiao Hua. All kinds of freshness and excitement flooded Xiao Hua and the heavenly Tao Xiao Hua like waves. After a few more days, the special envoy's flying ship didn't delay at all. It shone brightly in the spatial storm and soared into the sky. In the distance, in a mountain valley, the Taoist Yuankong flew out from the ground, dispirited and unwilling. He watched as the flying ship turned into specks of light and disappeared. His body seemed to have been stripped of its bones as he sat on the ground, paralyzed. After half a meal, he lowered his head, bent his waist, and urged his sword light to slowly leave. He was destined to be mediocre for the rest of his life, but this mediocrity also allowed him to enjoy peace. Perhaps he still hated Xiao Hua, or perhaps he still imagined that something strange would happen when he arrived at the Lost Land. However, there were no hypotheses in life. What didn't happen could only be guesses. Or perhaps, if the Taoist Yuankong had passed the selection, he would have passed the Wuming mountain range and died early in the wilderness. Xiao Hua thought that after passing the selection, he would soon be able to go to the Wuming mountain range. The special envoy's flying ship did as he wished. It didn't stop and immediately rushed to the Wuming mountain range. However, this flight took several years. Several years couldn't be considered long. Bai Fei's void cloud pill hadn't been completed, but several years couldn't be considered short either. Bai Fei had already put away the gold-devouring beetles. He was too lazy to watch Xiao Hua cultivate day after day. However, in these few short years, Xiao Hua's body underwent a heaven-shaking, earth-shattering transformation. Xiao Hua's mind entered the starry sky of the heavenly Tao to comprehend the 5 elemental origins ultimacies. This kind of harvest wasn't something that Bai Fei could imagine. In Xiao Hua's body, the starry sky nascent soul and hundreds of nascent souls had also completed their transformation. Xiao Hua's starry sky nascent soul was different from the nascent souls of ordinary cultivators. He cultivated the immortal world's scattering nascent soul technique. Moreover, the scattering nascent soul's 9th lightning tribulation was in the 10,000 demon realm. Therefore, after these scattering nascent souls passed the tribulation, they didn't produce any immortal qi. But after Xiao Hua had returned to the Yi-Lin continent, ever since the Tao seed had been planted, these hundreds of scattered souls began to produce strands of immortal qi. In a few years' time, 70% of these scattered souls who had passed the 9th tribulation had transformed into immortal qi. If it weren't for Xiao Hua's physical body and Su Ji's immortal talisman, Xiao Hua would have already ascended. In addition to Xiao Hua's scattering nascent souls, the Thunderbolt Immortal also had obvious changes. Although he cultivated the primordial spirit technique from the upper realm, 60% of the true essence in his body had transformed into immortal qi. Celestial being, Taoist sorcerer, and the others also had changes. Moreover, the changes were very profound. However, Xiaohua was a little anxious and didn't have time to observe carefully. Today, after comprehending the profound meaning, he took his mind out of the space and pondered whether he should go to the Wuming mountain range alone. Just as he was thinking, there was a slight vibration outside the quiet room. Xiaohua raised his hand and a yellow talisman in the shape of a dove flew in. When it arrived in front of Xiaohua, it turned into ashes with a tang. A rather dignified voice was heard from it, "Everyone, we will reach the edge of the Wuming mountain range in 10 days. This old man's flying boat can only send you up to here. I, Xiong Tianjing of the Defeat Oak Immortal Alliance, will send you off on the flying boat at that time. Please be prepared to welcome Xiong Tianjing." After the voice finished speaking, the ashes fell to the ground and the quiet room returned to its original tranquility. We're finally here. Hearing that they would reach the Wuming mountain range in 10 days, Xiaohua sighed and sat down cross-legged again. This should be the last danger in the Dawn Rain continent. When he thought of the Dawn Rain continent, Xiaohua couldn't help but think of Fairy Hongxia, Jiu Xia, Huang Mengxiang, and the others. Of course, the voices and smiles of Zhua Hongxia, Xiang Yang, and the others also flashed through his mind like a merry-go-round. Even many memories came one after another like horses galloping. P.S. Fellow cultivators who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, tip it, and thank all forms of support. Chapter 5008. Are these people still alive in this world? Xiaohua thought to himself. After all, it's been 1,000 years. The more he thought about it, the more agitated he became. Xiaohua simply focused on the inside of the space. At this time, the inside of the space was the same as the yang side of the space. It had already begun to take shape. Beneath the Shenhua continent, the netherworld blood sea was surging, and the netherworld fruit tree had turned into a continent that covered a large area of the blood sea. Countless netherworld beasts were gradually born. Even under the other spaces, there was a corresponding blood sea flowing, and the netherworld fruit tree had extended more branches into it. However, between the insides of these different spaces, there were some barriers that separated the insides of these spaces. Xiaohua didn't have the mind to look at this dark netherworld. Instead, he landed on the most special island in the blood sea. The netherworld lotus was still the same netherworld lotus, but the aura of the lotus was increasingly vigorous. This aura seemed to be connected with the entire inside of the space. The flickering of the netherworld lotus was like the breathing of the inside of the space. Between light and darkness, the entire space was shaking. Beside the netherworld lotus, there was also a motionless stone statue. The stone statue didn't look any different from last time. The small nose and small eyes reminded Xiaohua of Zhang Xiaohua's transformation. Shua shua. Jade Archive Xiaohua looked at the netherworld lotus and whispered, "I'm finally going to return to the Dawn Rain continent." However, after saying this, Jade Archive Xiaohua closed his mouth again. He seemed to have thousands of words in his heart, but they were all stuck in his throat. Only this sentence was the first to be squeezed out. Perhaps it was because silence spoke louder than words. Xiaohua didn't say another word. He just quietly looked at the netherworld lotus, just like how he quietly looked at the sleeping Shua Shua, allowing the tears in her eyes to wet his Taoist robe. Master. Jade Archive Xiaohua then flew to the netherworld bamboo and whispered, "In your eyes, disciple has always been a disappointing disciple, causing you to lose face. Disciple was willful in the past and felt that it was fine as long as I cultivated well. It had nothing to do with face. But disciple ignored master's feelings. Disciple knows he was wrong. Master, please don't worry. Disciple will return to the Imperial Thunder sect, to the Dawn Rain continent. Disciple will definitely obtain the glory you wish for 1,000 times, 10,000 times for you. Although this disciple still doesn't like these things, this disciple knows that master likes these things. This is enough. After he finished speaking, Jade Archive Xiao Hua's heart stirred as he thought of another matter. He frowned and said, "Oh no, I forgot about this child. Now that I've arrived at the edge of the Wuming mountain range, should end this karma as soon as possible. I'm afraid I won't have the time to meet Vice Alliance leader Xiong." Subsequently, Jade Archive Xiao Hua left the space and released the Dream Mirage butterfly. Then, with a wave of his hands, he tore open the void and flew out of the Special Envoy's flying ship. Xiao Hua's figure appeared in the distant sky. He looked towards the place where the sun rose, only to see that the distant horizon was gray. An indescribable pressure came from the gray, heavily pressing down on Xiao Hua's heart. Xiao Hua understood that it was the Wuming mountain range. Xiao Hua released his divine sense and looked around. His figure flickered as he teleported towards the east. A moment later, Xiao Hua's figure appeared on top of a mountain. After standing still, Xiao Hua thought for a moment and raised his hand to take out the Kunlun mirror. Under the urging of his magic power, he pulled Nua Yeching out of the Xinhua continent. Nua Yeching was sitting cross-legged in meditation. Xiao Hua liked her even more than Xiang Zhili's jumpiness. Xiao Hua couldn't bear to disturb his meditation and just stood quietly beside him, watching the sun rise in the distance. The gorgeous sunlight shone through the clouds on the ground. Caw! A bird's cry broke the tranquility of the valley. Nua Yeching's eyes moved and opened. She saw the unfamiliar scenery and Xiao Hua's figure standing with his hands behind his back. Nua Yeching hurriedly bowed and said, "Junior greets Senior Zhang. You can get up." Xiao Hua didn't turn back but looked in the direction of the Wuming mountain range and said, "Come and see, yes, Senior." Nua Yeching didn't dare to neglect and stood behind Xiao Hua, looking towards the east. Seeing the gray sky, Nua Yeching's eyes flashed and she didn't speak for a long time. Finally, she whispered, "Senior, this is the Wuming mountain range, right?" "That's right." Xiao Hua's voice was also a little low. "With the flying boat's speed, there are only 10 days left. I don't know if you want to go into the Wuming mountain range or to the edge of the Wuming mountain range, so I let you out here." "Thank you, Senior." Nua Yeching's chest was warm and she knelt down and kowtowed. "Junior will never forget Senior. Get up." Xiao Hua shook his head. "It's just a small matter for me to help you. The one you should thank is your master. He taught you martial arts since you were young." As he spoke, Xiao Hua waved his hand and called Lu Qingyu and Yue Hua out. As soon as the two came out, they immediately bowed respectfully to Xiao Hua and said, "Junior greets Elder Sect Master." You can get up now." Xiao Hua helped the two up and said, "The Wuming mountain range is in front. You can say goodbye to Yeching here. His path is different from ours. I'm afraid we won't have the chance to meet again in the future." "Yes, Elder Sect Master." When the two heard this, they were quite sad. They got up and looked at Nua Yeching. Nua Yeching's face was filled with ecstasy as she called out, "Master, martial uncle, you two have already become Senior's disciples." "Hee, you silly child." Lu Qingyu's face was filled with sadness as he scolded, "Senior is not a simple Dao Gate cultivator. He is the Elder Sect Master of the Fortune Gate. How can I become his disciple? Senior's personal disciple accepted me and your martial uncle Yue Hua." Lu Qingyu and Yu Hua had already learned everything about Xiao Hua and the Fortune Gate on the Shenhua mainland. They had long been proud of being able to enter the Fortune Gate. Of course, without Xiao Hua's permission, they didn't dare to say anything to Nua Yeching when they saw that Xiao Hua was still transforming. While Lu Qingyu was scolding Nua Yeching, Yue Hua stole a glance at Xiao Hua's expression and said, "Yeching, martial uncle has also watched you grow up and likes you very much. Your master didn't say anything else to martial uncle, but I already know that you are determined to come to the Wuming mountain range. Although I don't know what secrets you have, martial uncle really wants to tell you that the Fortune Gate is far from being comparable to my Chanha sect, nor is it comparable to the fallen immortal sect. In fact, Martial Uncle feels that even the Chu Pu Immortal Union is inferior to the Fortune Gate. Not just the Chu Pu Immortal Union. I feel that the entire Dao Union is inferior to the Fortune Gate. Lu Qingyu couldn't help but interrupt, little bastard, it's not too late to change your mind. Elder Sect Master won't care about this. How could Nuo Yeqing not understand the anxiety in Lu Qingyu's heart when she heard her master scold her as a little bastard? She smiled faintly and looked at Lu Qingyu, then at Yue Hua, and finally at Xiao Hua, saying, fellow masters, all of you are this junior's most intimate and most trusted people. Today, this junior will reveal the secret that has been hidden in my heart for hundreds of years. Let me say this first, fellow masters must keep this secret for this junior, and you must not tell anyone else. What do I want to tell others? Lu Qingyu really wanted to grab Nuo Yeqing's ear and drag her to kowtow and enter the Fortune Gate. He couldn't help but scold, after we part today, we won't have a chance to meet again. Even if I tell you, who will know who you are? Yeqing. Xiao Hua also felt uncomfortable and said in a low voice, this is your own secret, you don't have to tell us. What we did for you is what we should do. You don't have to be burdened. Senior. Nuo Yeqing replied, you can think like that, but this junior can't do so. Master has taught this junior since I was young, and now that we part, there is a possibility of life and death. How can this junior not tell the secret? Moreover, if this junior doesn't say it, Master will miss me for the rest of my life. Humph. Lu Qingyu coldly snorted. Even though he was about to cry, he still scolded, I won't miss you. If that's the case, then say it. Xiao Hua said indifferently, this old man is also very curious. Why did you insist on coming to the Wuming Mountain Range? Senior. Nuo Yeqing cleared her throat and asked, do you believe in reincarnation? Reincarnation? Xiao Hua asked curiously, why are you asking this? Senior, don't ask this, first tell me, do you believe in it? Nuo Yeqing smiled. I don't believe. Lu Qingyu rushed to answer first, that's all a lie, how can you believe it? He, this old man believes. Xiao Hua glanced at Lu Qingyu and said, Qingyu, your cultivation is still shallow. In the future, you will understand that there is not only my Dao Gate in this world, there are many other cultivation paths. My Fortune Gate's fourth master may have the ability to interfere with reincarnation. Ah. Lu Qingyu opened his mouth, but he was too shocked to say anything. It's good that senior believes it. Nuo Yeqing was also a little surprised, but she continued, if this junior says that this junior reincarnated with the memories of my previous life, will senior believe it? Dog. Lu Qingyu obviously wanted to scold Nuo Yeqing, but he only dared to say one word because Xiao Hua had already said, I believe. This old man has encountered such a thing before, although this old man has not confirmed it, but if you reincarnated with the memories of your previous life, this old man can also accept it. Nuo Yeqing smiled and said, if that's the case, then it's easy to handle. Senior, please look at the Wuming Mountain Range in front of us. On the other side of the Wuming Mountain Range is a place called Million Mountain Range. This junior was born in Million Mountain Range in my previous life, and was a so-called soul cultivator in Million Mountain Range. Moreover, this junior was also a master refiner in Million Mountain Range. P.S. Fellow cultivators who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, gift it, and Chapter 5009. At this point, Xiao Hua's body trembled, and a strange expression appeared on his face. He stared at Nuo Yeqing with incredulous eyes, and a strong premonition arose from the bottom of his heart. Xiao Hua suppressed the strong impulse in his heart, and listened to Nuo Yeqing continue. But perhaps it was because this junior had sacrificed too much to the soul beast in my past life, but in the end, this junior encountered a disaster and was killed by a six-eared macaque. Fortunately, I was kind to the millions of people of the great god in Meng Mountain. The great god Hoodoo gave me a gift and let me die on the night of the great god Hoodoo's sacrifice, a night with a red moon in the sky. Alas, this child. Lu Qingyu had no strength to scold him. He still didn't believe Nuo Yeqing's words. Xiao Hua took a deep breath and said, Yeqing, so you were Master Qin Qin in your previous life? Ah. This time, it was Nuo Yeqing's turn to be shocked. His body shook violently, and he looked at Xiao Hua with his eyes wide open. He cried out in surprise, Senior, how did you know? You. Who? Who are you? Could it be? Of course, I am me. Tears appeared in Xiao Hua's eyes. They were tears of joy. An indescribable ecstasy overflowed from the bottom of his heart like water. Once again, Xiao Hua felt the great love of the heavenly Tao. He couldn't help but be moved by the miraculous fate between heaven and earth. As Xiao Hua's voice fell, Xiao Hua returned to his original appearance. Zhenren Xiao. You are really Xiao Hua, Zhenren Xiao. When Nuo Yeqing heard Xiao Hua mention his name in his previous life, he also had a strong premonition in his heart. But when Xiao Hua's face was revealed, he still couldn't help but cry out like Xiao Hua. Yes, time flies, the autumn moon vicissitudes, you and I meet again. Xiao Hua couldn't help but sigh. Nuo Yeqing bit his lips, nodded fiercely, and said, should have thought of it long ago. In this world, if there is a person like you who cares about the world, doesn't care about the boundary between the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance, and respects the choice of others, who else can it be but Zhenren Xiao? Whether it is Zhenren Zhang or Zhenren Li, they are both Zhenren Xiao. Then, Nuo Yeqing continued in a self-deprecating manner, of course, I should have known that Senior was Taoist Xiao from the bloodline soul technique in the spiritual root selection method. It's just that reincarnation is only an instant. Junior was born in the Yi-Lin continent for only a few hundred years. Junior has forgotten the moment of reincarnation. Tens of thousands of years have passed between the Yi-Lin continent and the Xiaoyu continent. It's normal that Senior is able to cultivate to the peak of the human world. Therefore, I have never dared to believe that an expert like you is Taoist Master Xiao. Although Yuehua and Lu Qingyu were already Fortune Gate's disciples and knew about the Fortune Gate's development and Xiao Hua's experiences, they still didn't know about Xiao Hua's fortuitous encounter. Therefore, they took Nuo Yeqing's words to be true. Lu Qingyu looked at Nuo Yeqing from head to toe and said worriedly, Yeqing, then, how should I address you in the future? He, Master, the previous life is the previous life, and this life is this life. You are naturally this junior's master. Nuo Yeqing smiled and said, the current Million Meng Mountains is still different from the Million Meng Mountains from several tens of thousands of years ago. Everything from the previous life has turned into smoke, that's good. Lu Qingyu nodded, but a moment later, he said sadly, that's not good. Although I know about your background, in the blink of an eye, we have to separate again. Yes, Master, after all, the Million Meng Mountains is this disciple's home. Disciple has left the Million Meng Mountains for a lifetime. Disciple wants to go back and take a look. Nuo Yeqing was a little hesitant. Looking at the gray sky in the distance, her eyes were blurred with homesickness. Xiao Hua stroked his chin and looked at Nuo Yeqing thoughtfully. The corner of his mouth curved into a smile as he said, Yeqing, I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed. Nuo Yeqing was stunned. Retracting her gaze, she looked at Xiao Hua in confusion and asked, Senior, what do you mean? What is there for this junior to be disappointed about? Although time has passed quickly, the shadow of time is still lingering on the Wumeng Mountains. Xiao Hua said, if I'm not wrong, you've been blessed by the great god Hoodoo, and reincarnated during the blood moon. Although you were born in different places, your previous life and this life were only separated by the night of sacrifice. You've lived for hundreds of years in the Yilin continent, and hundreds of years in the Million Meng Mountains. If Ziming sees you, he'll definitely be very happy. Ah. Nuo Yeqing was stunned. After a while, as if she had just woken up from a dream, she said, "Say, Senior, if this junior was reincarnated during the night of sacrifice, this junior can understand. After all, to keep the memories of the previous life, I can't stay in the arms of the great god Hoodoo for a long time." But Senior's cultivation base, how could it soar from the Taoist Yuanying level to the supreme of the human race in just a few hundred years? This is too inconceivable. After Nuo Yeqing finished speaking, Yu Hua and Lu Yi's bodies also shook greatly. They looked at Xiao Hua in horror and only had one thought in their hearts: damn it, if all the cultivators in the world were to add up their years, they would have lived like dogs. Actually, Xiao Hua didn't want to talk about how his cultivation base soared, but in front of Nuo Yeqing, who used to be Master Qin Qin, Xiao Hua didn't have any reason to hide it. So, he said with a smile, "Hee, you've been blessed by the great god Hoodoo, and you can reincarnate with your memories. In the past few hundred years, your cultivation base has far surpassed that of other cultivators. Why can't I have other opportunities?" Nuo Yeqing sighed and said, "Senior, if I tell you about my opportunities, my master and martial uncle will believe it, right? But Senior's opportunities. I'm afraid they won't believe it even if they're beaten to death, right?" "Yes, yes." Yuehua and Lu Qingyu nodded like chickens pecking at rice, and responded numbly. In front of these two geniuses, they had nothing to say. "If I tell you about my opportunities, you'll naturally understand, but this opportunity is too dangerous, so I can't disclose it." Xiao Hua said with a smile, "Anyway, you should believe that there is no shortcut to cultivation in this world. I also cultivated, for hundreds of thousands of years to reach my current cultivation base." "Oh, no wonder." Nuo Yeqing nodded. She knew that this was Xiao Hua's secret, so she didn't ask any more. Xiao Hua turned his head to look at Lu Qingyu and Yuehua, and said in a somewhat stern tone, "Yeqing has lived 2 lives and has experienced a lot. I can tell her this without worry, but your Tao heart is still shallow, so I'm not at ease. You must remember this." Yuehua and Lu Qingyu's hearts trembled, and they hurriedly bowed and said, "Junior understands, please rest assured, Sect Master." "Senior," Nuo Yeqing said with a smile, "my master is very lazy. He likes to take shortcuts, but he won't be able to go far in this life. Martial Uncle Yu, on the other hand, will be much stronger than my master in the future. You just need to train Martial Uncle Yu more. You little brat." Lu Qingyu glared at Nuo Yeqing and scolded with a smile, "Is there a disciple like you? You don't say good things about your master in front of Sect Master. Lazy?" Xiao Hua's heart moved, and he immediately thought of his master Xiao Hongyue. If the word lazy was used, Lu Qingyu was exactly the same as Xiao Hongyue. Is it possible that this Lu Qingyu is master's reincarnation? Damn it, this is big trouble. Xiao Hua wanted to let Nanwu Mithreya perform his magical power, but after thinking for a while, he realized that Lu Qingyu was different from Nuo Yeqing. He didn't have the memory of his previous life. He had just made it clear that the previous life was the previous life, and this life was this life. He mustn't use his magical power to mix things up, otherwise, karma would be entangled. So Xiao Hua suppressed this thought, looked at Nuo Yeqing and said, "Yeqing, back then you gave me your refining inheritance and the token of your sect, and asked me to find a successor for you. It seems that there is fate in the unseen world. A few hundred years is not enough for me to find a successor for you. So, these things. I'll return them to you. You can consider them as returning the jade to its rightful owner." After saying that, Xiao Hua's Kunlun mirror shook again, and the soul nest that Master Ni Qin had given him appeared in his hand. Xiao Hua glanced at it. There were many bones, soul tools, refining methods, jade slips, and sword slips inside. Even Master Ni Qin's token was inside. Xiao Hua solemnly handed it to Nuo Yeqing. Nuo Yeqing didn't immediately take it. Instead, he looked at it with tears in his eyes. This was what his previous life entrusted to him, and today, fate had passed on to him. He had mixed feelings, and he didn't know whether to thank Xiaohua for keeping his promise or to thank Huda God for the gift. Take it, it's yours. Yuehua sighed in her heart and said in a low voice. Thank you, Master Xiao. Nua Yeching nodded slightly at Moonlight, took the soul nest, and said to Xiaohua, I really didn't expect that there would be a day like this. There are many things you didn't expect. Xiaohua said with a smile, do you want to know what happened to the six-eared macaque that attacked you that day? I'm a little curious. But when I asked Senior to let me go that day, I already had my own decision. Nua Yeching was already indifferent to the hatred of his previous life. He said lightly, I think it's because I sacrificed too many soul tools and killed too many soul beasts. That's why. I don't want Senior's hands to be stained with blood again. I'm actually very curious. Xiaohua smiled and was about to ask, but when he saw Lu Qingyu and Moonlight here, he knew it wasn't appropriate for them to know too much. He changed his mind and said, by the way, Yeching, I can't find you a disciple, but I can find you a master to teach you the soul cultivation inheritance of millions of Meng mountains. This. Nua Yeching hesitated and whispered, Senior, although my sect is different from the Dao sect, but what? Little brat. Lu Qingyu scolded in a low voice. Don't worry. Xiaohua smiled and said, it's not too late to make a decision after you see the master I found for you. As he spoke, Xiaohua activated the Kunlun mirror and invited Daoist Witch out. P.S. Fellow Daoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, donate it, and you're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.